Alright, let's dive and meet our main character Sheena Ren, a fourth-year student whose life credo is simple. Sleep is optional, but games are mandatory. And right now, this true titan at the top of the world, he has just conquered the newest fantasy RPG, and his victory shout could probably shatter glass. Imagine, the guy deliberately abandoned all real responsibilities, locked himself in a room, and played this game non-stop for several days, a true hero of our time. The game is called The Legend of the Seven Heroes Zoo, a true classic fantasy epic. A school background, descendants of legendary heroes, and one giant evil demon king who must be defeated. But you know what to do. It's a real worldwide sensation, a game literally everyone plays, even grandmothers. And here's where it gets really interesting. The story takes an incredibly dark turn when the hero's best friend simply kills a saint. The game ends on a powerful cliffhanger. The Emperor orders the hero to track down his former best friend, a perfect setup for the third part. Our hero, of course, rushes to the forums to see what the internet detectives are cooking up, and all of them unanimously claim this suspicious best friend is definitely the mastermind behind the scheme and the final boss in the sequel. Just as he's basking in the post-match glow, a strange pop-up suddenly appears on the screen. He is completely confused. Summon of the demonic sword. This skill wasn't in any game guide. Does this stop him? Of course not. He just slammed the yes button without hesitation. A wave of dizziness washes over him, and his whole body melts like wet noodles. Terrible reality suddenly becomes clear. Our unsuspecting hero is now literally an infant bathing in a wooden tub. He barely moves, sees nothing, and experiences a true crisis of life's meaning while someone rubs his back. This is not a dream at all. Suddenly, a memory flashes in his head about that strange pop-up. The very same special story, the skill of the demonic sword. It can't be. He clings to logic, trying to explain it like some fantasy trope, but in essence, it should be impossible. And then the truth, which destroys the soul, hits him with the force of a freight train. He has been reincarnated. He received an isekai. As if on command, the new mother and maid coo over him and officially call him Len Ashton. Name Len echoes in his tiny brain. And it was then that his world shattered into pieces. Lin, the name of the treacherous best friend from the game, the guy who betrays the main hero and unleashes all this chaos. He was not reborn as a hero. He was reborn as the future main villain of the story, the prime suspect behind everything. His new life flashed before his eyes like a montage of the brightest moments, him leading armies of darkness and standing as a symbol of the inevitable doom of the world. Our guy didn't just isekai, he was thrown into super hard mode as the final boss. It's going to be tough. Alright, let's dive into another day of exhausting sword training like child's play. Our guy tries his best, but his dad is a true pro and not impressed at all by his son's wild swings. He effortlessly parries and with one casual move tosses our hero into the air. Dad says, jumping back and forth like that isn't just for fun, you're really exposing yourself, rookie. Finally, the training ended, and our hero is completely exhausted, face down in the dust. And the father, on the contrary, looks very satisfied and says that this 7-year-old kid did pretty well, while our hero thinks only, I can't move my body, and indeed sounds quite logical. 7 years have passed since this boy was thrown into another world. He ended up in some rundown village of the Magus Empire, so insignificant that it doesn't even have a name on the map. We see his small, cozy house, a completely different world compared to those concrete jungles where he once lived. And believe me, the transition was by no means smooth. At first, he was like a baby in complete denial. But who wouldn't be surprised? But after half a year, when you are a professional machine that poops and cries, you just have to come to terms with the new reality. Of course, he hides a small secret from his new parents. Like any true isekai protagonist, this huge machine also has a status screen. He mastered an absurdly audacious skill, summoning the demonic sword. Unlike the game he remembers, his personal stats, strength, and magic are marked with question marks, and it feels much more realistic and much scarier. He is almost certain that he has never heard of this skill in the game, and that means only one thing. This is truly a unique skill. The rarest of the rare, something only HE can use, so he took a risk and summoned the cutest, completely harmless wooden saber you have ever seen. In fact, it's just a pompous branch, but he figured out the mechanics. Each use of the sword increases his skill, and over time this will unlock new, even cooler swords like the demonic metal sword. But what's the catch? When he summons it, magic drains his strength and his head just bursts. If he overdoes it, he might even faint. Well, here it is, the daily hustle officially began. Suddenly, Dad comes in, and our hero must instantly hide his little wooden secret. It was too close. When he realized he had this game-like power, it became clear. The world of AS is connected to the game, and the apocalyptic future he was going through might actually happen to. To protect himself and his new family, he has no choice but to become strong. Fast forward, our boy is already 7. Dad returns from hunting and says, "It's time to really train with the sword." This guy is just vibrating with excitement. Dad just gave a crooked smile and said to him, "Go at me with everything you've got." "Oh, I will," thought our hero, secretly summoning his wooden demon sword on which a cute sprout now grows. He rushed forward with a battle cry. Dad is clearly impressed and tells him to keep attacking until his body gives out. But his 7-year-old body has the endurance of wet noodles, and he collapses in less than 30 minutes. Dad still says that for the first time he did simply wonderfully. After Dad left, he quickly checked his stats. Skill increased by 2 points. Let's go. And so his new life begins. In the morning he studies, and in the afternoon his father beats him. He also learns that the system cannot be fooled by submitting demon stones from monsters his father hunted. No, this world gives him no shortcuts. Every experience point he must earn with his own hands. Another month flies by, which continues. He crossed swords with his father, and you can see how he becomes faster and more skillful. Dad admits that his movements have improved, but immediately starts teasing him. "You lose your balance too easily," he says, tripping him, and our hopeless hero flies through the air, spinning. Tell about that harsh love. Even after this kid ate dust, he wants to keep going. Dad says that's enough for today, wisely warning him not to push himself to injury. The boy thanks him, completely exhausted but determined. Later, he checks his progress. 88 out of 100, only a few days left until the level up. Daily torment when they only give 2 points is harsh, but from his gamer perspective it only makes the reward sweeter. That evening, Mom gently treats his hands, covered with blisters. She worries that he is overexerting himself and even calls his dad a sports maniac. She admits that, although she respects the Ashton family's duty to protect the village, she does not hate swords, she fears them. She remembers her husband as a brave warrior who feared nothing, a hero who saved people more than once. But her greatest fear is that one day that same courage will turn into a curse and seriously injure him. At that very moment, Dad comes in bringing home a huge boar for dinner. He overheard their conversation and immediately focused on them. "Don't worry, I'm strong," he says with a smile. He swears that he will no longer be as careless as before, because the happiness of his family is more important to him than anything else. Later that night, our boy lies in bed and thinks about the word family. It suddenly throws him into memories of a gloomy past in the city. His parents divorced, and he lived with his mother, who was never around. Their conversations gradually faded and finally completely stopped. And one day she simply stopped coming home altogether. It was a lonely and empty existence. He contrasts that cold past with his bright present. Exhausting training, simple household chores, reading with family, and daily dinners, all of this brings him more satisfaction than his entire previous life. In the training field, he is knocked down again. But as soon as he gets up, he feels something different. Ed asks him what's wrong. And our hero is confused. Maddie, it seems, feels better. Without saying a word, he rushed forward like a lightning strike. Dad's eyes widen in shock. He barely manages to raise his sword to block the insanely fast attack. Once again, Dad shouts, and our boy throws himself forward again, feeling a wave of power spreading through him. His speed and strength are simply incredible. He unleashes a flurry of blows. His dad is completely losing his mind. What just happened? He suddenly became stronger. Our hero leaps into the air for the funnel, a devastating strike that shatters his father's wooden sword to pieces. The old man is thrown into the air. His mind just exploded, but instead of anger, he is delighted, catching his son right in the air. He lifts him like a trophy. "Well done, Len. I can't believe you are the master of skills." Here his mother appears and asks in surprise what all this shouting is about. Dad laughs, spinning the child in the air, thinking that his skill has probably improved after all those hard trainings. And he is right. A message popped up for our boy. Summon of the demonic sword, now level 2. Passive skill, physical ability activated, slightly increased. Finally, all the boring work paid off. The stats have grown. Dad immediately became filled with dreams. He wants to send Len to the capital so that he becomes a famous knight. But our hero instantly put an end to it. "I don't think this needs to be tested." His parents froze. Who wouldn't be happy about a new skill? But this boy plays 4D chess. He knows that showing a skill called Summon of the Demonic Sword will be a huge hassle. He reveals his true ambition, to live peacefully in the village and become his father's successor. They can go hunting together, help the village flourish, and most importantly, he will be strong enough to protect his family if the worst happens. Tears well up in his mother's eyes. Our main hero thinks about how the last 7 years have been the happiest in his life, and all thanks to them. He is no longer the lonely one from the past, now he is Len Ashton. And all he wants is for the three of them to live together for a long time. Parents throw themselves at him in huge hugs, jokingly calling him a rascal, but it is clear they are overwhelmed with emotions. For our hero, this is already the second run, and this time he will protect his family, no matter what happens. Because he knows what is coming, he does all this to prevent a future game filled with despair. A future in which he is destined to meet the very girl, the one he must kill. For a moment we are shown this chaotic fate, a girl with a sword, a towering city, and a roaring crowd. But for now, our hero knows nothing about Thish, is just a child happily picnicking with the family he vowed to save. Alright, let's dive in. At first glance, a peaceful day in the castle garden, and a young lady is experiencing a serious crisis of meaning in life. A burly knight approaches and asks if everything is alright. She just sighs, "No, I'm just bored now that training is over." Knight Vyas looks around at his people. They are all lying on the ground, completely smashed, and says, "I see, it seems my people are no longer fit to be your sword training partners." No, seriously, Dudetha's girl single-handedly destroyed your entire team. Her only problem is boredom. What a powerhouse she is. And then she noticed that Vyas is ready for a serious mission. He says he was ordered to patrol the Northwest Territory, and she finds it very suspicious for a knight of his caliber. Vyas sees that her worst fears have come true. A truly dangerous beast has appeared, and it is here to exterminate monsters. Suddenly we shift to a completely different scene. Our guy Len is enjoying the calmest and best life on the farm. 3 whole years have passed since he last leveled up his ridiculously overpowered sound specialization, summoning the demonic sword. His main skill has risen to level 2 now. He can summon a demonic sword made of wood. Well, not very powerful yet. He checks his stats and sighs and feels as if his growth has completely stalled. But can you blame him? He is busy working on the farm and preparing for winter. Definitely not the best time to farm experience. Even a short training session brings him only a meager skill point. But our hero is not worried at all. He assures the sweet old lady that he has more than enough strength to live here peacefully. She just laughs and says that his father boasted he would become a great knight in the capital. Our hopeless hero replies, "No way, I pass." Suddenly a squad of knights appears on the horizon. The old lady's chill instantly disappears. She recognizes them as Lord Barnes' men and tells Len that they need to go home yesterday and... Oh look, the chief knight is none other than Vyas, the same guy from the garden. Lance Roy's father warmly greets the knights. The guy looks from the fence and understands that these are serious guys. Turns out his father is also a knight. He is supposed to protect this very village. Vyas, without unnecessary words, gets to work and hands Roy a report. The news is grim. A monster is destroying neighboring villages, causing massive destruction, and there are already victims. The knights want Roy to join the vigilance squad to track this creature together. Roy is always a professional, asked what rank the beast has. Vyas enthusiastically explains the guild's ranking system. And drops a real bombshell. It is a daring beast, a monster against which even an ordinary knight has no chance. Roy's soul almost flew out of his body. The strongest monsters here are usually F-rank cowards who... And as if that were not enough, Vyas says that due to the huge territory they need to cover, reinforcements will not arrive for another 20 days. The family, understandably, barely holds back panic but vows not to take their eyes off the forest. Len, trying to be a good host, offers him a place to rest, and at the same time secretly looks into memories from previous game lives to recognize this crazy creature. Vyas accepts the offer, points to a man who suspects nothing, and asks if he is Roy's son. Roy proudly introduces Vyas as the captain of the knights, the chief in the entire region. Len is clearly impressed. The knights pause for a moment, sharing a drink with the villagers before setting off on the road. And they rolled away. One of the knights notes, Len is a bearer of skills. Vyas looks around with a worried expression and hopes the kid will be safe until all this mess is over. Later, Roy is all fired up with the desire to hunt. Len asks about that beast, and Dad just brags and reassures, saying that once Roy himself hunted a D-level monster. This guy is completely confused. His dad is not just strong, he is stronger than all 5 knights combined. No wonder he could never win a sparring match. Roy has a grand strategy. Starve the beast, he starts a large-scale hunt and returns with mountains of boars. Len quickly puts it together. If they destroy the monster's food source, it will have no reason to approach their village. Simple but brilliant plan. Len sees how his father pushes himself to the limit every day, hunting from noon until sunset. While bathing, Len anxiously thinks that his dad is overworking himself too much. Just then Pops approaches him completely exhausted. Roy sincerely apologizes he won't be able to help with training because he and Len's mom are up to their ears in work. They are overwhelmed with processing all the meat. It is this peaceful family life that Len wants to protect. His dad is so exhausted that he literally falls asleep right in the bathtub. Days filled with torment drag on. One night Len lies down, his father still hasn't returned. Mom decided to go look for him, but Len will not let her go alone. She insists that it is too dangerous, but he stands his ground. He is going, and this is final. At the end, his mother looks at him with that old fear she has carried inside for years. With one lantern in hand, they boldly step into the pitch-black night darkness. They reach the bridge that marked the entrance to the forest. This was where the territory of the beasts officially began. And then they see him. On the other side of the bridge, leaning against a tree, sits his father. He's pale and completely broken. For a moment it becomes easier, but his eyes widen with horror. Something terribly is wrong. His mother, blinded by panic, rushes across the bridge, shouting in search of her husband. As she gets closer, the terrible truth is revealed. His father is covered in blood. A huge, terrible wound stains his entire torso. He gasps for air convulsively. In that moment of pure horror, our hero can only scream. Alright, let's dive straight into the chaos. At night, a desperate family runs through the forest and someone is shouting, "Dad." Our boy Len stands and watches as his father lies wounded on the ground, and it all looks like real hell. And the reason for all this panic: this is a huge demonic boar that looks like it woke up on the wrong side of the apocalypse. The monster lunges into attack, and our hero barely manages to raise his sword to block the blow. But this is not an ordinary forest animal. It literally bites steel like a toy and completely stops Len in his tracks. Such strength is simply ridiculous. The boar breaks his defense, throws our hero to the ground, and pins him down, but even with his face smeared with furious pork meat, this guy has the courage to shout to his mom, "Run." Just when you think it can't get any worse, no, it gets even worse. Two more boars jump out of the bushes, ready for the second round. Family is officially surrounded. They are now completely doomed. But wait, a message flashes in our guy's head. He has a passive skill, physical strength slightly increased, and he realizes he might have enough energy to push this thing away. Without hesitation, he tenses his muscles and with all his might throws the demonic pig into the air. The boar flies into the air, and his mom's jaw hits the floor with a dull thud. He hasn't even had time to rejoice when another one crashes into him from the side at full speed. Our unsuspecting main hero suddenly launches an attack, swinging the axe with all his might. Bam, a knockout with one blow, the boar falls, completely neutralized. The swing was so furious that it not only threw the monster into the air but also completely knocked off the head of his axe. Our guy just stares wide-eyed, completely bewildered by his ridiculous strength. Seeing one of their friends completely destroyed was enough for the other two boars. They looked at this guy and decided, we're in overtime and we're paid enough for this. They charged and at that moment something clicked in Len. All this training, all these skills, he really has become strong now. He can fight. Let's move to the next day. Meanwhile, in the house, a kind old lady was tending to his father's wounds. Grandma Rig informs them that the worst is behind. His father's condition is stable. We feel a wave of relief wash over his mother. But our hero is already piecing the puzzle together. He knows those petty scoundrels couldn't have taken down his father. No, his father probably ran into some monster, a much bigger and nastier threat lurking in the same forest. And reinforcements will arrive only in 10 days, and if that creature sneaks into the village, it's the end for everyone. Realizing he can't just sit and wait, this boy decides he must do something. He returns to the forest and comes across the corpses of boars lying there since the previous night. But when he approaches closer, a strange cloud of energy rises from the bodies. It flies straight into him. It is directly absorbed into the mysterious bracelet on his wrist. A status popped up on the screen. His gamer theory was confirmed. The demon sword summoning technique is now level 2. He simply absorbed magical power from the monster's demonic stone and instantly gained a huge skill boost. This changes everything. That night he drags the monster corpses home and honestly talks with his mother. He tells her directly, "From tomorrow I take on the parental responsibilities." He is clearly frightened, but he lays everything out clearly. Father is wounded and now he is the only one in the village who can take up the fight. He almost begged her, asking to be allowed to protect everyone until help arrives. Next morning, Mother finally gives in. She allows him to go on one condition: he must return by dusk. With her blessing, our hopeless hero goes into the forest on his first official day as the village defender. She gives him one last piece of advice: use the giant Sorogi rock as a landmark and do not go too deep. This reminds him that he hasn't even tried the natural magic in his demonic wooden sword. The memory of the boss from the game surfaces, the very one who had the same powers. And then, as if on cue, another little nuisance appears just the right time for a test run. He aimed the sword and shouted loudly, "Chris, grow, Ivy, go." Instantly, vines burst from the ground, and wrapping around the boar, trapped it in a chaotic cage of leaves. Our guy's reaction is priceless. He just froze, not believing how cool it was. The boar froze completely in place, but unharmed. He understands that this magic is a real find for crowd control. You can catch monsters without a bloody fight. So the hard work begins. He starts honing his skills on every boring one he sees. Local villagers just stand and watch, amazed and fascinated. On the very first day, this true giant dragged back a huge bundle of 12 boars entwined with vines. On the second day, he does it again. And already on the third day, our hero begins to score, turning into a legendary monster slayer. So let's dive in. The moon is high, the forest is dark, and the legendary beast takes the stage. Meet Chief Wolven, a D-rank monster, essentially a hairy nightmare on 4 paws. Meanwhile, our guy rushes through the forest, gasping for breath as if he just ran a marathon he never even signed up for. Suddenly, he feels some absurd presence behind him and stops abruptly. His danger instinct is screaming. And rightly so. Before he could even realize what was happening, a wolf the size of a bus flew at him from the side and threw him back like a doll. Our guy hits the ground, realizing that this thing is incredibly fast. In his head, there is only one elegant word: damn. This giant machine spins around him, and it becomes clear this is not a simple forest creature. It has its own trick. The poor soul seems to be tearing away from the body when he looks into the abyss. The wolf-like creature boasts summoning a damn tornado of leaves, sharp as blades, instantly putting our hero on the defensive. He is thrown back. He eats dirt again, for the second time in less than a minute. Imagine the special power of Wolven wind magic that creates invisible hands to stealthily steal things. What a vile, crazy ability for a giant wolf. Our unsuspecting main hero instantly realizes he is doomed, completely lost. This is not a fight he should get into. He desperately tries to come up with a plan for victory, but the wolf doesn't even give him a coffee break to think it over. He knows his nature magic is weak, so the only chance is to take a risk, run up close and hit the stomach. Just as he gathers his courage, his eyes catch something. The wolf freezes as if it knows he has noticed its secret. And here it is, a disgusting wound on its leg. Gears start turning in his head. Could it be the father? He wonders, piecing together facts from that previous quarrel. His eyes widen from a sudden, terrible realization. This wound is the very reason why the beast flew into a wild rage and attacked the village, and it is the only thing that allowed his father to escape alive. New fire ignites in the eyes of our hero. He remembers his father, a knight who, even wounded, did what he had to do. That is all the motivation he needed now. He will not retreat. The wolf-like creature simply growls, clearly unimpressed by this sudden burst of "I am the main hero" energy. The beast charges another chaotic wind attack, leaving him not a second to breathe. Quickly orienting himself, our boy draws strength from within and, calling upon the magic of nature, grows a spiderweb of thorny vines from the earth. Plants burst from the ground, a chaotic heap of greenery. The wolf let out an angry roar as the vines began to wrap around him. For a moment, the beast froze, tangled in the thorny trap. This is his chance. He takes advantage of the opening and jumps onto the monster's back to deliver a critical blow. He raises the wooden sword, preparing to deliver the decisive blow. Right to the weak spot. And the sword simply breaks in half. How awkward. The plan falls apart and his magical bracelet suddenly starts to glow. He is completely stunned. His one and only magical wooden sword in the world is now just a split stick. Realizing that the counterattack is about to explode, he desperately tries to summon his weapon again. But in vain, the broken sword crumbles in his hand. Trying to summon a broken thing is a terrible idea. Mana starts to leak wildly and the magical backlash is pure agony. He barely holds on, his vision blurring from pain. The wolf-like creature starts twitching wildly, effortlessly tearing the weakened vines. Our main hero is about to be thrown off this fluffy machine of death. And then he flew. The wolf with a fierce roar throws him against the neighboring tree. But he falls to the ground, coughing with all his might. As if that was not enough, he got tangled in his vines and is now completely defenseless, and the wolf is sneaking up on him. But instead of finishing off the prey, the beast does something strange. It starts gnawing the roots of the tree. Just gnaws the tree, that's all. Our hero feels his consciousness fading. He has a healing herb that could save him, but then he remembers. His father lies wounded at home. He hesitates, tightly clutching this precious herb in his hands. No, he decides maybe it won't be enough for his father. He chooses to endure. What a giant he is. Options are melting away, and he frantically searches for another plan while the wolf enjoys its snack. His gaze falls again on the bracelet, and an idea flashes in his mind. The wolf finished its snack and, growling threateningly, turned its attention back to him. It again releases a devastating gust of wind, lifting debris into the air and scattering it in all directions. The guy is thrown again, his body screams in protest. He jumped to his feet, ignoring the pain, and madly rushed towards something visible in the distance. "Stay still for a minute," he shouts, as if the monster would politely listen. He uses the last crumbs of strength to summon another bundle of vines and hold it back. His mana is at 0, but he still runs straight to the corpses of boars he defeated earlier. He must absorb their magic stones, only then will his skill rise to a new level. His progress indicator has reached 97 out of 100. He is about to unlock the magical metal sword with the help of. Behind him, wolf growls break free again. It is him. He is putting everything on the line for one last burst of strength. Vines crack like dry twigs. The beast is free, and it is madly angry. It bites through the last bonds with pure fury. The memory of the family nourishes him. He slapped the palm on the boar's corpse and absorbs its energy. The bracelet on his wrist suddenly flashed with a dazzling light. "Can't lose here," he roars, the spirit within him blazing again. System announces, demonic sword middle unlocked. Just as the wolf lunges, jaws agape, he summons his brand new weapon. This is the last all-or-nothing showdown. The wolf lunges to bite, ready to put an end. Our hero drops to one knee and pours every last drop of his strength into this single attack. You're shown a chilling shot from inside the monster's jaws. Having not a shred of fear, this guy just stabbed the freshly forged metal sword right into the throat. The blade's power awakens, releasing a blinding slash that tears the beast from the inside out. With one sincere, incredibly epic final strike, the wolf leader is felled. Alright, diving back into the whirlpool of chaos. The last time we saw our guy, he was fighting for his life, and it seems he really made it. A huge pillar of light marks the end of the battle. And the leader of the wolf pack is simply pierced through, and through a magical sword pins his gigantic body to the ground in the forest. GG no Ray. Our guy Len is completely exhausted, gasping as if fighting for his life. He froze, looking at the blade, and suddenly realizes, this is not just a sword, it is a magical metal sword that is now absorbing the magic stone from the fallen beast like a demonic smoothie. But the euphoria of victory quickly fades. This giant is completely powerless, his body officially shut down and will not move an inch. In the last fragments of consciousness, all his thoughts were only about his parents. Suddenly, the thunder of hooves rolled through the trees. A squad of knights, probably attracted by that unholy noise, sees the aftermath of the bloody massacre. Their captain raises his hand and shows, "Over there." They arrive and find a child who has fainted next to the monster that was supposed to turn her into red paste. The rescue team is completely astonished. Without wasting a moment, the knights rushed back to the village. They burst straight into Len's house, shouting, "Is Anna here?" as if storming the entire place. Len's mother, understandably frightened, but the knight immediately got down to business. "There is no time for politeness. We are knights from Colossal. Take this boy to his room." At home, Len's father runs out, sees his beaten and unconscious son in the knight's embrace, and his heart sinks. The knight notices that even after losing consciousness, our hopeless hero desperately clung to his bag. Interested, his mother opens it and finds Rondo grass, exactly the one she needed, and the realization hit her like a truck. This boy risked everything for her. She burst into tears, holding her son. He had just single-handedly defeated the monster that was lowering ranks to get medicine for his mother. What a true legend. News of this ridiculous stunt spread like lightning. The messenger, kneeling before the lord of the land, announces the incredible. That boy Len Ashton defeated the wolf leader alone, and the old man simply cannot believe his ears. But sitting nearby, a noble lady suddenly became genuinely interested. A boy capable of single-handedly defeating a D-level beast on her territory now, that is truly intriguing. 2 months flew by. Our boy did not slack off. The skill of summoning a magical saber improved, and he even unlocked the ability to steal items from those he attacks. This new power manifested as a stylish weapon, the bandit's enchanted sword, which is more of a crazy claw on a finger than a sword, perfect for light thefts during adventures. But even with new fame, this guy still climbs rocks to gather herbs as if nothing happened. The local guards notice him and panic completely. "Lord Len, didn't we ask you to call us when you go into the forest?" Our hero only apologizes, and the guards are already impressed by his physical strength. Having survived that fight, he clearly gained a boost in attributes. Len reveals his cunning plan. He wants to sell the valuable trophies of the wolf chief to help the village pay taxes. The guard smiles, anticipating you. It turns out the lord buys all the loot for good money, and this year's reward is full exemption from taxes. Our hero is delighted. This one act of mad bravery will ensure the village's prosperity for decades. At home, the father beams with pride. I heard you have achieved so much, Len. But our humble hero sincerely gives credit. He says he wouldn't have managed without his father's help. When asked what he wanted as a reward, Len pointed to a beautiful shining sphere and asked, "Please give me this stone Salacia pearl." At the same time, he also asks for that suspicious bracelet, because now he can wear it openly. Father kindly patted him on the head, a classic gesture. "You made me worry, you reckless fool." But his pride is undeniable. Putting your life on the line to protect everyone, you succeeded. You are incredible, Len. So after this, a long peaceful silence fell over the nameless village. Life turns into an idyll. Len helps on the farm, people wash laundry, and peace reigns all around. But as we all know, calm is just a screensaver before the next chaotic chapter. Our guy was minding his own business when he suddenly noticed a girl sitting on a stone wall who looked completely out of place. He is confused. Who is she? She is not from this village. She turns around, her gaze fixes on him, and she asks one simple question that is about to complicate everything. Are you Len Ashton? She gives him a gentle, knowing smile. Our unsuspecting main hero is stunned. It seems to him as if he has seen her before, but he cannot remember where exactly. Yes, that's right, she says, and her smile grows even wider. This is a fateful meeting. And in that single moment, a completely new story bursts forward at full speed. Gears of fate have moved, and you feel real madness is about to begin. Alright, let's start. Our guy is just minding his own business when suddenly a mysterious girl, as if from the pages of fantasy, appears and calls him by name. He is a little puzzled but says, "Yes, I am Len, but..." And before he can add anything, she simply beams at him with a smile. Sighing with pure relief, she said, "I have always wanted to meet you." Alright, a bit strange, but maybe she is a fan. Even before our main hero could understand it, she dramatically pulled out not one but two swords. She asks about his wounds, and he has every right to be embarrassed. They have already healed. But how do you even know me? She completely dodged the question, flashed a sly smile, and said, "In that case, let's begin." As in what? Without any warning, this girl lunges at him like a human rocket. The clang of steel rang out. Our unsuspecting hero barely managed to parry the incredibly fast attack. This is a real, crazy assault that forces two other guys to literally save themselves at the cost of their lives, so as not to become collateral victims. And the best part, she goes crazy with joy, laughing. You skillfully wield a sword even if you are behind. And our hero is just trying to survive, thinking, this girl is really skilled, but why is this happening? And then he notices her blade is dulled. She is not trying to kill him, but teasing with a training sword. Realizing that for her this whole chaotic encounter is just a game, this guy decided he had enough. Well, this is problematic, he thought, and it was time to end this. The cunning move, he caught her leg and simply tripped her. She stumbled. He forcefully throws her sword out of her hands, and in an instant he pressed her to the ground, his blade pressed against her throat. I won, a true savage. But then he makes a fatal mistake. Suddenly, he notices that their faces are only inches apart. The hero's mind shorts out completely, and he jumps back as if he touched a hot stove, shouting, Sorry, Eurito is close." This real machine, however, is not scared at all. She just jumps up and loudly demands once more, "Prepare your sword." Our guy's soul officially left the chat. He no longer understands what is happening. And just then a squad of knights thunders over the hill, shouting, "Princess, it's Ino." An old, gray-haired knight who looks like he has seen everything in the world rides up on a horse, clearly exhausted from all these antics. The princess, simply calmly shakes the dust off herself. She then hands over an official letter with an exquisite wax seal and explains that her father sent her. It seems her father, the great boss himself, was wildly impressed by the recent victory of the Ashton family. He introduces herself and says her name Lysia Clausel, one and only Santis Bailey. And at that moment, the whole world of our hero shatters. A memory or vision flashed lightning fast in his head. He is in a dark uniform, holding dead Lysia in his arms. The old knight is still scolding her for running away alone, without any guard. But our hopeless hero experiences a complete life collapse. He realizes with a deafening horror that she is the same girl I have to kill in this story. So why is his main target standing right here and challenging him to a friendly duel? And at the next moment, they all sit down for a very, very uncomfortable tea party. Our guy is just trying to reboot his brain and figure out how his quiet, unnoticed life suddenly ended up under the wheels of a plot freight train. In his head, thoughts began to race uncontrollably. Lysia Clausel, the Saintess of White, is one of the main heroines of the game Legend of the Seven Heroes. She is the fans' favorite in the powerful team, but everyone knows there will be no romance with her. She is an NPC. Lizia swallowed the tea and explained, I came here myself to see what a person who defeated the wolf leader is capable of. When you raised the sword without hesitation, I was convinced of your courage. He is screaming inside. He deliberately chose this backwater village and days travel from any major city to avoid the main plotline. He had no idea that he would one day have to deal with the feudal lord's daughter and yet she came here by herself just to test her strength against him. He tries to downplay his coolness. I'm afraid you overestimate me. It was precisely my father's help that decided everything. Honestly, I don't think I have the courage you're talking about. But Lizia didn't buy his modest act for a moment. You are different, not like the other nobles who just talk, she says. She throws out this request. A chill runs down his spine. That's why I want you to come with me to Closel, so we can arrange sparring sessions whenever we want. He thinks she is simply obsessed with fights and lives for work. But he must stop this as soon as possible. Sorry to disappoint you, but I am not going to leave this village at all. Lizia's smile faded and she looked at me piercingly, as if you have been trying to distance yourself from me all this time. Maybe you like me. The guy grabs at some excuse and no, that's not it. I like life in the village. He pulls out the most powerful noble card. My father is the only person capable of protecting this village. If demons attack us again, we will be destroyed, but Likia just stares into the teacup with an expression of pure determination. Understand, I will not give up, just wait. All right, diving back into chaos again after a pleasant, calm family dinner. Our hero, unsuspecting, decides to get some fresh air. But instead of a quiet night, he suddenly finds himself ambushed in the stable. He just wants to relax a little after eating. Suddenly, a wild rival appears. This girl, who apparently never learned how to knock, shows up with a sword ready and a comically self-satisfied expression on her face. She proudly announces that she has obtained his parents' consent to drag him out here for a duel, and our guy shouts, "Are you kidding?" and categorically refuses even to raise his sword. But this girl plays dirty. She delivers a decisive threat. If you don't fight me, I'll just stay here indefinitely. Realizing he's trapped, this big guy laughs loudly, grabs his sword, and pretends he really just wanted to practice. He is a master at saving his own dignity. She stakes everything. If she wins, he will have to spill all his secrets and be dragged back to her luxurious city Klausel. But our hero is not one to be crushed. He sharply retorts, "What if I win?" Without blinking, she shot a devilish smile and said she would just come back tomorrow and challenge him again. It's a losing situation from any side, and she knows it perfectly well. What a true troll she is. The battle cry, she rushes forward. The duel has begun. Swords clash in a furious rain of sparks. She lunges at him with all her might. She immediately unleashes some crazy strike with her whip sword, trying to catch him off guard. Our guy defends like a pro, and she is completely flustered. He is like, "Seriously, why are you so obsessed with beating me?" Her answer is simple and ruthlessly honest. "I hate losing." It seems to be about being the Saint of White. That means she has to protect her reputation, and she will never let some random country boy her age overshadow her. Our heroine is just trying to understand what her title has to do with it. When she explains that her skill, Santi's, is essentially a built-in cheat code for swordsmanship and physical stats. Not only that she possesses sacred magic, so, as she says, losing is terrible for her. Annoying, she screams, lunging at him with another fierce attack. She declares that the time for fun is over. Now she is getting serious. Both she and she are not lying. Our guy feels the pressure spike sharply. She suddenly is much faster and much stronger. It must be her sacred magic activating. For the uninitiated, sacred magic is a broken, very powerful combination of healing and divine enhancements. He found himself on the defense, blocking an unrelenting barrage of attacks. She performs an absurdly cool spinning strike in the air, just showing off her divine enhancements. Even he is forced to admit when she is at full power, she is truly strong. He shouts, "Couldn't you have used this earlier?" She briefly replied that her guardian Weiss would scold her for activating all her powers without permission, and realizing the gloves were off, our guy decides to get serious too. Fight bursts forth with a furious, almost unreal speed. Sparks fly as steel clashes with steel in a wild dance of blades. He dodges, weaves, and parries, carefully studying each of her moves. And then he notices his chance. He has already figured out her habits. Instantly he closed the distance and pressed the tip of his sword right to her throat. Checkmate. She froze in shock. This big guy thinks to himself, yes, she is strong, but she is not the wolf leader. He holds her in place, her confidence shattered completely. She just can't believe it. He sharply pushes her back. She stumbles. He instantly performs a perfectly executed trip. He plops down on the ground, completely broken. He stands over her, the victor. "This is my victory," he says, his voice icy. Her mind just exploded. Just when you think it's all over, she refuses to admit defeat. In a desperate attempt, she throws her sword at him. He indifferently brushes it aside. She is already on her feet, shouting, I have not lost yet. Persistence of this girl is a completely different level. Suddenly, a slow, drawn-out applause sounded across the yard. Her bodyguard Weiss stepped out of the shadows, and genuine admiration was visible on his face. He enthusiastically praises the incredible skill of our hero and says that it is not surprising at all he single-handedly defeated the Woven leader. He turns to his lady and seems to say, see, now do you understand how strong he is? He hopes that this dose of reality will push her forward. She simply lowers her gaze, completely humiliated. She sincerely apologizes for her chaotic entrance and admits that it was an incredible experience. Her guy, as always an awkward winner, just somehow agrees. Weiss apologizes on her behalf, but our main hero tries to brush it off. Weiss will not tolerate this. He looks him straight in the eyes and says, yes, you did it. This old man definitely knows what he just saw. Weiss says that the young lady has become too relaxed, her peers could never challenge her, and this beating became the painful awakening she so lacked. He would very much like them to stay for a few more sparring sessions, but duty calls they will have to leave in the morning. It turns out she is not just a spoiled lady. Her father sent her to quell the unrest in the district. She is the best student, a true prodigy both in learning and in combat. Her guy quietly thinks that she is too domineering. She is also incredibly straightforward. She says everything as it is. And then we see the real reason why he pushed her away, a dark vision of the future where he holds her lifeless body. He never expected to meet her so early in the timeline, and it turned all his plans upside down. Next morning comes. Veta could not even close her eyes, her mind still spinning from the defeat. Resolutely, she sits down and begins to write a letter. Weiss stops her and asks, is this for our guy? She confirms with hope that a formal written invitation will work better than her usual methods. But when Weiss reads it, his face twists in horror. Girl, this reads like a love letter. He reads aloud the line, my passion for you is stronger than what I felt before our meeting, and she panics, insisting that it is all true. Weiss gently explains that her choice of words sounds not like a challenge, but rather like a desperate confession of love. He keeps reading about her bravery and gallantry, and she is almost dying of embarrassment. He brazenly trolls her, saying she sounds like a village girl who just met her knight in shining armor. After the second defeat in 12 hours, she is forced to admit he is right. This letter is a complete disaster, it must be destroyed. Later they set off on their journey, waving goodbye. After their bright first meeting, the saint humbly leaves the village. Just as she was about to throw away that humiliating letter, a gust of wind grabs it right out of her bag. It seems fate has a sly sense of humor. She rushes on, not noticing at all. Meanwhile, our hero decides to try out a new skill, demonic bandit's sword, which can steal an item. He notices a bird and decides to try. Poof, one feather appeared in his hand. Suddenly, another bird flew by and dropped something right into his hands. Here it is, a letter. He opens it, his eyes widen in surprise. What is this? A love letter. The universe just slipped her cringe right to his doorstep, and you just enjoy it. All right, back to chaos. Our guy is peacefully lazing in the forest, holding a suspicious-looking letter. He squinted, looking at the quality parchment, and instantly the only logical conclusion came to mind: who is trying to invite me to Colossal? And here his hopeless romantic awakens. He begins to wonder if this exquisite note is from that very same silver-haired saint. But even before he could get lost in dreams, the thunderous pounding of hooves sharply brings him back to reality. Something big is approaching, and it is rushing here extraordinarily fast. Suddenly, a squad in heavy armor bursts through the trees as if they rule here. Our hero instantly recognizes the coat of arms on their banner. This is definitely not a local family crest. These guys are strangers here. Without wasting a second, the knights charged forward and surround the unsuspecting one, their horses kicking up mud and leaves. They ride right up to him, a wall of steel and intimidation. This is a pure show of force, and they haven't even said a word yet. The captain's helmet is still on. You get to the point. Are you in the service of the Ashton family? Our guy confirms, and the knight drops a real bombshell. They are messengers of Viscount Givens. Name hit Len like a truck, and his eyes opened wide in shock. You see, the Viscount is head and shoulders above the Baron, and Givens' domain is right next door, so they can't be ignored. So this real giant had no choice. He had to lead the entire cavalry back to his modest home. The chief knight, a handsome guy named Weiss, takes off his helmet and looks overly smug. He walks inside as if he already bought the house and finds Len's dad coming to in bed. Weiss suddenly announced that he has a message for Len Ashton. The Viscount holds you in high regard, he says with a smile. He wants to hire you for his estate. A job offer from an influential noble. Wow, things just heated up. Len's soul just flies out of his body from pure confusion. Weiss explains their written invitations were simply ignored, so they decided to come in person. He knows Len serves the Clausel family, and he doesn't care. And then one of the local guards intervenes, loudly shouting that this is an absurd breach of rules. You can't just enter another lord's territory and try to poach their best people. This is a loud political incident, and this guy is directly exposing them. The two sides stared at each other face to face. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a sword. Weiss just snorted with a superior smile. "All right," he says, completely unperturbed. And with that, he and his knights simply walk away, tossing over their shoulder a light "We'll be back." There you have a suspicious exit. As soon as they left, Lena's father tore off his mask and revealed the true madness of the message. They were hunting not only Lena, they aimed to annex the entire village to the holdings of Viscount Given. In other words, they got stuck in the middle of a treacherous political feud. Time for a quick politics lesson. Buckle up. The entire empire is split into 3 chaotic factions. First comes the imperial faction, sycophants of the royal family, convinced that only the blood of the Lion King can rule. The second is the heroes faction, led by descendants of legendary heroes. That's where our guy Visc Givens hangs out. They support democracy and believe kings should be taken down from their pedestal. And finally, the neutral faction, pacifists who just want everyone to calm down a bit. Their local lord, Baron Clausel, is a genuine member of this group, with credentials. Lena immediately doubts, can a noble simply annex someone else's territory? It turns out, if everyone agrees, it's possible. But his father knows that beneath the surface, something suspicious is creeping in. The guard adds that Baron Clausel is a good guy, and the fact that the Santuses are on their side makes them a tempting target for recruiters from other factions. Our hopeless hero suddenly realizes that he is already neck-deep in a conspiracy. They are not just connected to the conflict, they are entangled in a political web. Trying to pull himself together, Len rereads the letter from Givens. The Viscount's official excuse for the capture is supposedly the village's weak military power, and he even mentions the recent incident with Chief Wolven. But Len's father emphasizes that the monster attack was a complete exception, something entirely unusual. And that's when the gears in our guy's head ground. He remembered hearing that a feudal lord can be punished if his territory suffers from monsters due to insufficient forces. He quickly connects the facts. Isn't Givens trying to frame Baron Clausel to make him look incompetent? The room fell silent. He had figured something out. Len lays out the entire course of this 5-dimensional chess game. Givens creates a crisis, saves the village, calls Baron Clausel a nobody, then bursts in, absorbs his lands, and forces him to side with the heroes, a hostile corporate takeover in medieval style. But he doesn't stop there. He takes the theory one step further, into pure mad genius. Scenario of this case. This incident was not an anomaly at all, it was a set trap, and Viscount Givens could have deliberately released that monster on their village. And his father considers it madness. But Len insists there is no evidence, but only this theory makes all the pieces fit together and everything fall into place. If it is true, it is a scandal that could shatter the entire region. The guard stands stunned and admits that the Baron himself suspected the same. This child is a true strategic genius. For now, all they can do is stand ready. Now our hero understood, he is only a pawn in a much bigger game. Time relentlessly passes. He devotes himself to training, learns, and stands guard over his native home, while autumn slowly gives way to winter. He even helps lead the winter hunt so that the village is well stocked and safe. The guards were amazed by his talent and said he was destined for a great future in the capital, but Len humbly firmly declared that he is the heir of the Ashton family and this village is his home. The guard literally cried with pride. It was very touching. Thinking Len set off home satisfied. He asks the maid where his mother is, and she indifferently says that she is from Rigdono. Now he goes into the kitchen, and he has a short circuit in his head. There at his kitchen table, Santi's Elna is sitting and snacking on appetizers, as if she is the mistress here. He flinches at his shocked scream. "What do you mean, why am I here?" she says with a sly smile. "If you are not going to Clausel, then obviously I will come here." Our guy is completely confused. This girl is persistent on a completely different level. Alright, let's dive back into this chaotic story. After all that drama with Viscount Lysia, she decides to visit our guy's family once more, but she did not come for a friendly talk. She directly enters the room of his father, who is lying in bed and looks very exhausted. She stretches out her hands, and a wave of pure holy light envelops him. We are talking about the highest level healing magic of Santa. Dad sits up, feels like $1 million, and sincerely thanks Lady Lysia. Get out of the room. Our hero asks if she ever healed his dad, and she simply throws out, "Yes, I did heal him, didn't you know?" The expression on our hero's face is priceless. He has no idea at all. Flashback begins, we see them fighting on the snow, blades clashing like in an action movie, and believe me, Lijah trains hard. Her movements are much sharper than before she really puts up a fight. But in her haste, she overdid it and completely loses her balance on the ice. Just as she almost fell face first into the snow, our guy instantly sprang into action, slipped and caught her like a perfect hero from a photo. And bam, she froze, looking up at him, her face turning 50 shades of red. He instantly leans back, completely embarrassed. Lijah was completely out of breath, not understanding where this guy's almost endless stamina comes from. But even gasping, she admits, sparring with him is the most fun she ever has. She pointed her sword at him and said decisively, "Let's measure our strength again tomorrow, I won't lose next time." Our unsuspecting main hero just stands there, puzzled by this energetic challenge. And so, over the next few days, an epic montage of sparring and training sessions. But training must end someday, and eventually Lijah leaves, leaving our boy watching as she disappears into the snowy distance. He knows he's playing with fire and thinks to himself that getting closer to the heroine of the story is probably a terrible idea. The internal conflict is real. Let's fast forward a bit. Winter retreats, the snow melts. And finally spring arrives. Our hero walks with his father, he has fully recovered and is back in action. Just when everything seems normal, a squad of knights rides in. And of course, the henchmen of Viscount Givens have returned to bother us once again. The chief knight says with a crooked smile that he was waiting for them. He says the Viscount still wants to hire the father, but also brought good news for the son. It seems the Viscount is ready to use all his influence. He wants our boy to be accepted into the legendary Imperial Academy, and not just anywhere, but into a special class. The whole family is stunned, everyone's jaws dropped. And Lena's dad starts to panic, saying that getting into a regular class is already an extremely difficult task. The knight only laughed mockingly, explaining that the special class is a closed club for the heirs of the 7 great nobles and a few other recognized geniuses. But a recommendation from the Deputy Minister of Justice is a real golden ticket. So what does our hopeless hero say to this incredible opportunity that could change his life? He looks the knight straight in the eyes and simply says, "No, thank you." The whole world froze, the knight's brain literally showed a blue screen, it cannot comprehend what just happened. Inside, Lena is having a real panic attack. The special class is the place where all the main characters of the game gather. It is the only place in the whole world he absolutely cannot get into. You see, if he enrolled there, it would throw him right into a collision with the main plot of the game, exactly what he has been trying to avoid with all his might. In public, he just mumbles that he is happy to live in the village. The knight simply loses his head, shouting at Lena's dad, "What are you thinking?" Dad is a real G. He apologizes and says that this is his son's life, his choice. He firmly says that his family has served the Colossals for generations, and their pride cannot be bought. "Well, alright, see you then." Finally gives in. He, throwing a passive-aggressive "what a pity," drives away. The guy watches them go, probably just drowning in sweat. A few days have passed. Another group of riders is approaching. It's Lijah with her guards, but something is terribly wrong. She is slumped in the saddle and looks as if already at death's door. This is her 3rd visit, already a real disaster. She is hurriedly carried inside and laid in bed. The poor girl is burning with fever. Her guard explains that she fell ill 3 days ago. It is a strange disease that affects only children with powerful magic. It strikes suddenly, and although not contagious, the high fever that accompanies it can kill. You will have to spend at least 2 to 3 weeks bedridden to recover. Our main hero is terribly worried. After 3 days, her condition finally stabilized. Len comes in to check if she is okay. He finds her awake, her cheeks still burning from the fever. And the first thing she does is look at him with tears in her eyes and quietly whisper, "Sorry." He feels like a huge burden because she got sick right after arriving. This huge guy immediately tries to comfort her, insisting that she is not to blame at all. But she quickly breaks down. She explains that this whole trip was meant to prove her value as the support for her family that Santas and Raleigh represent. Now she is just completely disappointed in herself because of the failure. And as a final reproach, in training sparrings she couldn't even beat him once. As if a dam broke, and she begins to talk about her late mother. How she rejoiced when Lijah was born as the Saint of the White. She always believed that Lijah would do great things. Lijah admits she saw her mother only in portraits. But she wears her mother's clothes from her childhood as a reminder to feel as if she is being encouraged. Len suddenly realizes that the outfit she always wears is not just clothing, but a precious keepsake. Like Lijah continues, her voice breaks. She says she wanted to live up to everyone's expectations, but it was all in vain. And then she drops an emotional bomb, "This will be the last time I come here." Why? Because she heard that he refused the Viscount's offer to join the academy. In her pure, innocent soul, she believes that he and his father risked everything to show their devotion to her family, and she cannot bear the thought that she herself caused their troubles. She apologizes again truly, from the bottom of her heart, for everything. And our guy just sits there, his heart torn apart inside, and he thinks to himself, this girl is pure. And the terrible truth crashes down on him. The one who hides secrets and pulls the strings, causing all this pain, is him. He looks at this sincere, pure girl, burdened by a weight that is not even hers, and thinks, will it really all end like this? Alright, let's dive right in. Our guy Len and the young lady are a bit awkwardly talking after the fight. She tries to finish everything quickly and asks if he could lend her some ink to write a letter to her father. Our guy, always a gentleman, says, of course, stationery is in the box on my desk, take it, don't be shy. And then this real giant casually drops a bombshell phrase, this is actually my room, I was just cleaning when you showed up, you know. On her face is pure, genuine shock. She immediately felt like she was a huge nuisance. But our hopeless hero, pretending everything is under control, asked if she could bring some magical fire-starting device next time just in case. He even clarifies, I mean, when you come again, completely ignoring what she said that she would never return. How cheeky she is, she hisses, reminding him that she avoids him precisely because she constantly causes trouble. Realizing he overplayed a bit, this guy smoothly switched and said that anyone would be confused by a sudden ambush fight. He says it's okay if next time she just warns him a little. This verbal judo turns her apology into an open invitation. He then gently steps back, telling her, rest, and when you feel better we'll talk properly. She just sits completely speechless, mute, as if a blue screen has just frozen in her head. The second Len slammed the door and hit his palm on his face so hard that it can even be felt. What am I even saying? He mumbles, and his tough guy mask instantly crumbles. Meanwhile, the young lady is still pondering. I am gladly invited to return. Just one thought and her headache begins to recede. Deciding to write that letter while she still has strength, she approaches his desk. He opens the drawer and impatiently searches for the ink box. But instead of ink, she pulls out a folded sheet of paper. She unfolds it and begins to read deeply dramatic prose about valor, courage, and nobility. Hers unfold the horror across the entire frame. Memory echoes in her head, girl, this looks like a love letter. Realization hits her like a freight train. Here comes Hurler, the one she thought she had lost, and this guy not only found him, he also read it. She is completely breaking down. They are wrong, this is not a love letter. She persistently speaks into the empty room, trying more to convince herself than anyone else, as if I have any feelings for him. Aha, of course I am the King of England. She is terribly embarrassed and wonders why he kept something so humiliating. She tells herself, just throw it away. But instead, she hugs it to her chest, broken. Lying in bed, all she could do was wonder what he even thought after reading her secret, shameful confession. The next day, it seemed that life was gradually returning to its usual course. The grateful knights offer to help with repairs around the house. Everyone disperses. Len sets off into the forest with one group. The young lady looks out from her window and slowly recovers. For a moment, it seems that everything will be fine. And of course, it starts to pour. The work crew takes a break under a tree and waits for the downpour to pass. Suddenly, our hero smells a strange odor and asks, do you smell something burning? It smells as if someone arranged a controlled burn, but something is bothering me. His blood ran cold. The smell comes from the side of the house. The whole house was engulfed in roaring flames. He dashed, running across the field as if his life depended on it, but for him, it was already a nightmare. He sees that the knights he left behind are completely erased. Some poor guy had his neck bitten off. This was definitely not an accident. Panic overwhelms him. A young girl is still inside. Without hesitation, he bursts into the burning house and sees that the guards inside met the same fate. It was a perfectly timed, ruthlessly cruel ambush. And there, in the flames, stands the one who planned everything, a dark man in a hood. Next to him, a terrible winged monster. Right behind them lies an unconscious young lady. Len instantly recognizes the creature. It is a mana devourer, a strong monster of double D rank. Seeing her in danger, our hero throws caution aside, shouts her name, and rushes forward. The hooded figure simply turned and said, you must be Len Ashton, step away from her. Len didn't even have time to react. The world around him began to fold and spin. His vision blurs, his strength fades, he falls to his knees. The villain reveals his secret weapon, a small incense burner. It is not just an air freshener, it is so powerful that it can put a dragon to sleep for several days. Len, realizing he was completely outsmarted, only stared in horror. As his consciousness begins to fade into black darkness, he wakes with a jerk, chained in the bed of a moving wagon. He is confused, trying to understand where he has ended up. Then he sees her, a young lady next to him, also in chains, but fortunately she is still breathing. Their kidnapper casually says that the gas meant to knock them out will last about 4 days, so they better behave. It's already been several days. Len looks out the window and sees they are already deep in the mountains, far from everything. The situation is completely hopeless. This guy is a beast tamer who controls not 1, but 2 rank D monsters, And the biggest problem is not the villain, but she herself. She is getting worse. He knows if they remain captive even a little longer, her life will be in serious danger. And at that moment, something inside him snapped. He looks at her, determination burning in his eyes, and makes a firm promise. I will definitely save her. Alright, let's dive in. Before us is the main heroine, Lysia. She is very unwell. She is unconscious, tears are rolling down her face. It is clear she is on the edge. But our guy watching over her knows that time is running out. He clenches his jaw. Tonight is his night. He has to make his move. Under the light of the full moon, their prison wagon stood ominously in the middle of the dark forest. Their kidnapper, some suspicious man in a hood, settled by the campfire and suspects nothing at all. This is the chance our hero was waiting for. Although he was in chains, he begins to focus his energy and then bam, out of nowhere materialized a devilish sword, a demonic metal blade, baby. These supposedly unbreakable chains, one touch, and they just crumble to pieces. Our hero looks at the sword, shocked by its absurd sharpness. He immediately grabs it and tries to break out of the cart, but it just pierces a tiny hole in the wood. Oh, so it's a sword, not a battering ram, good to know. So plan B, let it be. He helps Lisa get out of the back while their kidnapper is dozing. But this is a fantasy world, so of course a pack of wild dragon lizards decides to break in and foil their escape. One of them dives in a dive bomb attack on our heroes, and our guy at the last moment pushes Lisha aside. They hit the ground hard. And this turns out to be a blessing because the one in the hood wakes up and releases a catastrophic energy blast that completely vaporizes the cart they were just in. The attack was so crazy that even the monster attacking them froze, as if saying, "What's wrong with you?" Shockwave rolls through the entire forest from the explosion. Reacting instantly, this true giant covers Lysia and starts spinning his sword like helicopter blades, deflecting the entire magical onslaught. The invader is completely confused. Hey, where did you get that weapon? Instead of answering, our guy simply hurled the sword. The other guy's staff bit into the bark of a neighboring tree. And to show off in front of this dude, he summons the Sikun sword meat, the demonic wooden sword. Only the tip of the blade and massive vines burst from the ground, entangling one of the monsters. And then just in case, they twisted the captor himself. That guy is going crazy, shouting, "Natural mages," as if he just saw a ghost. Seizing the opportunity, our hero grabs Lysia and wildly rushes to the horse. Even when she is tangled in vines, the kidnapper is not done yet. "You won't escape," he growls. But our hopeless hero has even more ridiculous tricks up his sleeve. He summons a tired weapon, a demonic rogue sword, which is essentially an upgraded dagger. He throws it and it, as if enchanted, snatches the staff right from the captor's hand. And the poor fellow just stands and watches, not believing his eyes. "My servant, what is this supposed to mean?" They dashed off on horseback, and the local beasts are still causing a chaotic fight. The captor finally breaks free, his eyes blaze with fury. "I won't let you escape, Len Ashton." Then he fills with power. Strange tattoos on his arm begin to glow. And unleashes his most powerful technique, summoning all the forest beasts to rush and hunt them down. Suddenly, an unholy herd of demonic monkeys, war boars, and huge wolves chases after them. Our guy immediately explains, this guy's power is to control monsters weaker than him. And that means they face an army here. Quantity matters, not quality. Nothing special. Len just summons a metal sword again. Releases a colossal spinning strike. That turns dozens of monsters, charging the attack into mince. The horde is endless. They swarm the horse, clawing and biting its legs. Wolf beast lunged forward straight at Lisha. Len must cover it with his own hand. For this, he receives a painful, vile bite. As if that were not enough, one of the previously seen dragon lizards suddenly flies up and unleashes a stream of fire. They barely managed to sharply turn aside and, at a gallop, flew into the forest behind them. The forest was already blazing. Meanwhile, the scene shifts us to the northern town of Closel. It is there that the nobleman receives the worst news of his life. His daughter Lysia has been kidnapped. The commander of his guard is kneeling and begging forgiveness for his failure. He begged for one more chance to save her. Lysia's father, Lizard, is unexpectedly calm. He tells the man not to blame himself. Lysia ordered him to step back. But action must be taken immediately. And tell the emperor. He hadn't even managed to send a messenger when a servant bursts into the room. Urgent guests from the imperial capital. At the foot of his majestic stairs stand 3 men in official uniforms. They are from the Minister of Justice. But they didn't come to help. Oh no, their leader with a stone face announced that Baron Cluzel was under suspicion due to obvious negligence. He is accused of monster attacks because of which his own daughter was kidnapped. Political games have begun and our heroes found themselves in the very midst of them. Alright, let's dive in. Our guy successfully rescued the princess, but their journey across the country is not going very smoothly. The poor girl is tormented by a treacherous fever, and our hero has turned into a 5-star field medic. He quickly prepares some healing broth from medicinal herbs gathered in the forest. She glanced sideways at the bowl with the green slimy mass, clearly not thrilled with the new food options. What can you do when you're sick in the middle of nowhere? You have to drink that nasty goo. The taste instantly assaults her senses, and she looks as if she's about to eat her own soul out of her body. Our hopeless hero hurriedly hands her water, which she drinks in one gulp as if her life depends on it. And after that traumatic tasting, they rushed into battle with the river. They continued the journey, and this real machine carried her all the way. After a few days, they are on the road again, now as hardened travelers. The fever subsided and she can finally ask clearly, where did you even get those herbs from? It turned out our guy in the village they passed through exchanged several monster parts and even obtained extra supplies for the road, boasting hunting skills and hunting down a giant boar. He is sincerely touched by his skill and gratefully said thank you. He just shrugged and smiled coolly as if it was nothing. She instantly recognizes the area and shows, this is the territory belonging to their nearest viscount. Our main hero confirms that they are looking at the Boulder Mountains. He even finds the way from here. It's really impressive. Of course he only knows this because here is the final boss zone from his favorite video game, a classic isekai protagonist move. He estimates that getting to her home, Colossal, will take about 4 days. She is worried about the safety of her family. And our unsuspecting hero suddenly, quite casually, drops a bomb. Oh, don't worry about them, they weren't home that day. He says it so confidently and so businesslike that she simply has to trust him. He suggests making a small detour to greet the Baron before returning. She is so touched that she can barely speak just another thank you, filled with tears. Night falls and it starts to rain. He finds shelter and our guy lights a fire. For dinner today, a giant bird, which it seems he just plucked from the sky. He asks confusedly, how did he manage to catch it? He simply says he used a vine trap. Simple, effective, and truly cool. She asks if it's thanks to his mysterious sword. But he just teases her, saying that strength is a secret. How mean. And he pulls out a broken crystal pendant. He asks if this is a broken magical instrument. Bingo, this guy admits that he snatched it from the beast tamer during their chaotic escape. They thought it was probably a tool used to muffle sound in the carriage. Mystery is solved, for now dinner is being served. He sees several freshly grilled bird kebabs. Sincerely admits that the presentation is a bit simple. He decides to try. She takes a bite and for a moment her face becomes a puzzle. And a radiant smile spreads across her face. It's delicious. Our guy genuinely looks relieved and happy to hear that. Journey continues. We make our way through rocky terrain. Lush gardens where fresh, juicy fruits are harvested. And past the ancient bridges. They stop by the babbling brook to wash their things. Which honestly, surprisingly turns out to be such a homely and familiarly warm moment. While her things dry, she looks into the distance and sinks into thoughts. Our hopeless heroine notices a stain on her face. Without saying a word, he gently wipes it off. His simple gesture instantly disrupts her mind. He just smiles and says that they will be able to talk properly as soon as she feels better. But her face has already turned red like a beet. He leans over, touches her forehead, and feels the fever has subsided. This only confuses her more. She pushes his hand away and insists that she is fine. Later, she still thinks about his letter, about everything that happened. Finally, she stands up to him. Are you hiding something from me, aren't you? Her guy is completely confused. She, with a tremor in her voice, asks, why did he keep her letter? I keep it in a box like the most precious treasure. Suddenly, his mind went completely blank. What are you talking about? He asks, sincerely confused. She irritably tells him not to play dumb. She means that thing in his room. And suddenly something clicked. A memory appeared of his sister asking, why are you collecting a box full of used magical stones? He just thought how beautiful they are. As if it were some strange family trait. Though that real giant thinks she is talking about his strange collection of stones. And he tries to explain, like since that first glance. This has always troubled me. He talks about someone from Reincarnated, but the whole story is told from her perspective. If this guy just delivered the most poetic, wildly candid confession of all time. Brain only blue screens in your head. She is a bundle of nerves and embarrassment, and he just smiles, thinking that being curious is not strange at all. He even wonders if she feels uneasy because these stones are from monsters. Bro, read the room. She finally snapped, I already understood everything, stop talking about it. She is completely confused, her heart is pounding, and she doesn't know how to behave in front of what seems to her a sudden declaration of love. After a long, awkward silence, she buries her face in her hands and mumbles, "Just say my name. If you must, just call me by my name." And he remains standing there, completely clueless about what just happened. Finally, they reach a small village. Our hero exchanges the remains of a giant boar for healing herbs because those have already run out. An old woman with curiosity in her voice asks where they are going. And as soon as she hears Colossal, she immediately points them in the right direction. Then she suddenly utters devastating news. Baron Colossal is about to be punished. The world freezes. What? The old woman is not quite sure about the details. Rumors are already spreading that the Baron pushed the monsters to attack Viscount Givens. This is the last straw. They immediately rush forward and speed full throttle towards Colossal. She completely refuses to believe it. Why, it's impossible. My father would never have done such a thing. Our guy knows that something is deeply wrong with this story. This is an outright setup. Soon the city of Colossal appears before the eyes. But as soon as they arrive, someone else appears immediately. A luxurious carriage rolls through the streets, turning the heads of the crowd. And a polished boot stepped onto the sidewalk. This is Viscount Givens, and he looks incredibly self-satisfied. He shouts, "If we take control of this territory, the influence of the hero's faction will expand." Here is his moment. Here is his chicken coop. Rise from your decline. First, they need to overthrow those clauses. The time has come. Alright, let's dive right in. Night falls, and our heroes are playing risky tag with fiercely enraged knights. They're just madly rushing across the plains. These armored thugs stuck to them like glue. Elijah looks back and panics, realizing they simply cannot escape from him. He pushes their horse to the limit, praying they can cross the next hill and reach civilization. But just as they thought they had a chance, a new player bursts into the game, and he brought animals with him. At the top of the stone spire sits a suspicious-looking figure in a hood, flanked by 2 real dragons. He calmly extends his hand, silently saying, "I knew you would come right here." Our guy's face turned pale as if his soul is leaving his body when he recognizes the beast tamer. And this dude wastes no time. The ground itself begins to convulsively shake. And their horse, needless to say, panicked. Suddenly, the entire landscape explodes with a tsunami of nightmares. About walking plants, killer flowers, and generally some unholy monsters bursting out from under the ground. As if a garden salad decided to fight back and brought to the party an army of giant rats that growl. Without batting an eye, Lycia asks for a sword. And our hero got a little distracted, because the knights chasing them are now running away and bursting right into this chaos. The knight begins to scream, "Wait, stop," as he heads through the alleys toward the swarm of rats. Advice: the rats couldn't care less about your alliances, they were simply buried by a tsunami of teeth and claws. This is a beautiful, chaotic moment of instant karma. Beast Tamer above only snorted disdainfully, "Bad time for you." He gave them an ultimatum: surrender peacefully, or he will unleash force. And his idea of force is a swarm of giant terrifying wasps. This guy is causing real chaos. Len sharply draws his sword when the thorny vines try to grab him. But even before he could do anything, Lycia explodes. She grabs the blade and starts smashing the mushroom monsters as if performing in a cooking show. Our unsuspecting heroine is completely confused. She asks when she became so strong. She just shouted back, "I trained to defeat you," and at the same time completely smashed the face of some poor slime. This girl is a whirlwind of pure destruction, cutting her way through the demonic garden. But even with her new skills, they are trapped and realize that the only way out is to defeat the beast tamer himself. And as if on command, everything got even worse. The ground suddenly shook violently. And a colossal sandworm from hell emerges from beneath the earth. Lycia's scream was cut off because this true giant Len didn't even move. He just calmly drew a sinister-looking new blade, a demonic metal sword. With one clean, almost effortless swing, he threw a slash of pure energy that cut the monster in half from head to the other end. 2 halves of the worm fell, scattering an epic rain of stones and blood. Now it was Lycia's turn to be surprised. "Hey, you see, you are also much stronger," she says, and it is visible. Above on his platform, it is clear that even the beast tamer is impressed. He mumbles under his breath that even the wind pressure from that attack reached him. In his eyes, genuine interest. But our hopeless hero does not look at him. His eyes are wide open from a new kind of horror. He stares into the distance at something so that even the wizard who tames dragons seems just a warm-up. "Why?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Beast Tamer's facial expression became deadly serious. He definitely knows who Len is talking about and pronounces the name of this new, terrible presence, Yurku. Well then, let's dive in. Our guy is up to his ears in trouble, but something absolutely legendary is about to begin. A new player enters the field, Yurku, the Beast Tamer. He is one of the 7 legendary heroes, so famous that his fame arrives 5 minutes before him. And our main hero, knowing the future, says that this meeting happened completely off schedule. Lance's inner monologue is essentially the sound of scratching, and what else? This is not just some random cameo. Yerk is a known threat. He is known for his cruelty, and for killing his own relatives he earned exile. As punishment, a powerful magical seal was sharply attached to his hands. He was nerfed so hard that without some magical backup, he can barely use 2 skills at the same time. Len instantly puts it together. The only reason this suspicious elf is here, Viscount Givens probably hired him, likely promising to remove that annoying seal in exchange. While Len plays detective, he and Lisha are still drowning in an ocean of angry mushroom monsters. Lisha, poor thing, turns back to our hero and asks, so any tactics or are we just improvising? Our guy froze, staring at the ominous trio, the ancient hero, his domestic dragon, and the 2D rank Wolfen. And his face says it all. Victory is not just unattainable, it is in another solar system. Just as despair begins to creep in, Lisha with a sly smile. She leaned closer and, as if in passing, dropped a bomb. Len, I am the saint in white, don't you remember? And then immediately unleashed a furious whirlwind of sacred magic. As if his soul is about to tear out of his body, a wave of sacred energy crashes over him. Dazzling light wrapped around him. He's completely bewildered, feeling a crazy surge of power rushing through his sword. Even Yerk, standing on his rock, cannot help but feel the sudden change in atmosphere. With his new power, our previously hopeless hero is no longer hopeless. He charges straight into the horde, sword raised high, and releases a single devastating slash. A lace of pure light destroys everything in its path, instantly turning dozens of monsters into confetti. Yuko watches, stunned. Sacred magic. Lisha looks a bit exhausted after that powerful buff. Noticing a gap, Yuko's dragon swiftly plunged downward and releases a stream of flame. Lisha is not finished, yet she raised her hand up, raises a golden barrier that easily withstands the entire fiery explosion as if nothing happened. Flames parting around them, and the dragon was thrown back by the recoil. Piercing scream of pain. Our guy looks at Lisha, a new fire flared up in his eyes. When she is next to me, we will get out of this. He responded with a look, thinking exactly the same thing. This is the peak moment of this powerful pair. They are ready to start a real fight. Yerku has already seen everything. He points dramatically and growls, I will finish this right here. Finally, the final confrontation begins. This is a wild, chaotic fight, horse against dragon, preparing for the last strike. Something unthinkable happened. The dragon wildly missed Lenin completely and pierced its owner right in the chest. The blow threw everyone into the air. Yerku was thrown off his collapsing mount. Lenin and Lisha were thrown off the horse in that wildly frenzied chaos. The battlefield fell silent as the dust finally settled. Monster is finished. Our heroes are defeated. Then rushed to Licia, who is completely exhausted. He understands that only one epic buff took everything from her. But the fight is not over yet. Len raises his eyes and sees that Yerku is still standing on the ledge, even though he has a fresh hole in his torso. The elf lowers his gaze to the wound, and then in bloody hands. Suddenly he begins to smile. A slow, mad laugh burst from his lips. Laughter grew, turning into a real maniacal laugh. So much blood, he whispered breathlessly. After all this time, I still can't kill anyone. He falls as if defeated. Just when you think it's all over, his eyes suddenly snap open and fixate on Lisha. No, I can still go further. And then this guy delivers the most chaotic villain monologue in history, mumbling that the sight of people on the brink of death fills him with unspeakable ecstasy. He literally says, better than, well, you can read it yourself. And suddenly behind him, a shadowy story bursts out from beneath the ground. His mortally wounded dragon begins to transform into something new, something darker. Yerku raises his hand, a twisted smile spreading across his face. He summons the mana devourer, and fuels its unrestrained rage. He is about to sacrifice his own limb, and that will only make things worse. Alright, diving back into chaos, our guy just witnessed that suspicious elf turn into a real psycho, screaming like a prima donna and having the craziest look I've ever seen. And what does he offer for dinner? You know, just his whole hand. He allows the shadow beast to bite into his entire limb as if it were a snack at a party. Len, our unsuspecting main hero, can only watch as his soul seems to tear from his body in pure horror. But the elf, this true giant, begins to laugh maniacally, spitting blood as if it were confetti. After a second, the pain finally makes itself known. He screams in despair. But honestly, what did you expect, dude? The monster immediately started twitching wildly, clearly regretting his life choices. It seems this hand comes with the magic of a cursed seal. The elf just shouts, swallow, hi, and this man is clearly not all there. Suddenly, chains burst from the seal and wrapped around the elf's body. He looks at his now shattered stump down to the bone instead of a hand and has the audacity to wonder, "Was my hand not enough?" He complains, "Friend, you signed up for this yourself, no turning back." He sighs, calmly accepting his fate without regret, ready for that sweet relief that death brings. But the monster has other plans. From the darkness emerges a shadow spear and whistles through the elf's chest. And he takes his last breath, and the monster shatters the tree in which he was stuck. Having discovered the hidden potion, it broke and splashed him. Even dying, he laughs at how expensive this potion turned out to be. This guy's priorities are complete chaos. When his previous master was knocked out of the fight, the shadow beast notices our heroes and lets out a deafening roar. Our guy fell to the ground, completely stunned. But he quickly gets up again, sword at the ready. Even on his last breath, the elf remains vicious, whispering to the monster to kill them both. The monster flies into the sky and crashed right in front of them. It rushes forward at an unreal speed. And our hero realizes that he is completely and hopelessly doomed. The beast doesn't even hesitate, it just hits him so hard that he flies all the way to next week. He's thrown back and forth like a rag doll. Another finishing blow falls upon him, and a fierce strike with the tail. This is more of a beating than a fight. Len flew across the entire battlefield. He wished his tail once more just in case. The dying elf simply watches this with a self-satisfied smile. And our hopeless hero is simply shattered to pieces. He realizes that this mana devourer is much stronger than before, at least in rank. Forget it, the monster is tensing up, it might turn out to be even higher. He roars once more to prove it is right. Len stands his ground, but he is at his last strength. Lisha was thrown back by the shockwave. And the monster lunges again, tossing our guy into the air. He coughs up blood while Lisha calls him by name. The monster looms over them, ready to finish this. The elf enjoys like never before, laughing that this is his last ecstasy. But a scoundrel. Just when he is enjoying his moment, Lisha begins to glow. A wave of light covers them. She gently takes Len's hand. He thanks him for protecting her, even though she herself is selfish. Then she makes the classic sacrifice move, "Go away, take care of yourself." Sergei's eyes widen, he will not tolerate this. And the giant monster's paw falls to crush them. Len looks her straight in the eyes with a cold gaze. "I would never dare to leave you behind, Lady Leisha. Let's go." Foot of death was only a few inches away. Len, in a desperate last attempt, raises his sword to block the strike. He pours every last drop of his strength into it, screaming as the pressure builds. Sword completely shattered into a million fragments. Monster is not moved at all. He roars triumphantly. Len was left holding the useless hilt. Before he was thrown back, he collapses next to Lisha, completely broken. He can only cry as his last hope crumbles. Just at the moment when the monster was already approaching. When the lens bracelet at the place where Lisha touches him begins to glow, the stone shines brightly. And then a system message popped up on the screen. A new demonic sword. At such a moment, the universe is literally dropping legendary loot in the middle of the battle. The monster feels a surge of power and suddenly hesitates. It still rushes in to attack, a big mistake. Filled with the pure energy of the protagonist, our guy shouts, hoping this alone can protect. Here it is. "I don't care, take this." The bracelet explodes, a sword of pure light grows from it. The psycho elf can't believe his eyes. The monster swings its claw. This time Len meets it head-on with his new power. The lightsaber slices through the shadow beast's arm as if it were ordinary paper, completely destroying the limb. The monster begins to disintegrate, roaring in agony as the holy flame consumes it. The elf goes mad. How could this have happened? The attack explodes outward, spreading into a huge dome of energy, launching a pillar of light so enormous that it probably even has its own postal code. Light fades, leaving shimmering particles in the air. Our hero and Lisha remain suspended in the air after everything, both completely stunned. They are simply surrounded by this quiet, overwhelming power and cannot comprehend what just happened. Alright, let's dive right in. After the complete chaos of the last battle, the world held its breath for a moment, but don't relax. Political snakes are already creeping up. Our hopeless hero Len woke up very early from stunning news. He is being transferred to the capital, which essentially meant he was being paraded before execution. Meanwhile, local gossip says the whole trial is a farce and some suspicious viscount has been pulling the strings from the very beginning. What news? So begins the procession of shame, a whole parade just to transport one child. The guy obviously is clearly not thrilled. He is on horseback, surrounded by guards, looks like he is about to become the main event of some very grim festival. Leading this whole company is Viscount Givens, a man who looks like he invented the concept of a face you want to punch. His knight partner asks confusedly why the Viscount is so obsessed with Len and Lisha. She has potential, while our main guy is just some country knight, right? Viscount just smiles slyly. Just a country girl, you say? Oh, this guy knows something. He says he accidentally stumbled upon the secret of the Ashton surname. They say possessing it is the key to rising among heroes. It's much more than a simple setup. He laughs ominously as if only he knows the truth and leaves his knight completely bewildered. Givens begins to mutter about a mysterious light that was seen in the forest, wondering if it was the power of a saint. Knight says he has already sent people to check, and that probably means getting rid of any witnesses. Givens says directly, don't screw up, it's already a complete mess here, and failure won't be forgiven. Pressure is mounting. The procession exits through the city gates and heads into the open spaces. Mood is gloomy, the villains are winning. Suddenly, on the horizon appeared a rider, rushing towards them like a rocket. All the guards go crazy as one. And who is this legendary rider? None other than Lisha. She bursts in, the sun blazing behind her like a Valkyrie. Chief Guard's jaw drops. He looks like a true queen and clearly did not come here to play. Guards shout princess. And our guy Len does not believe his eyes. He tries to move, but his escort firmly restrains him. Elijah softly smiles and reassures him, I am fine, and we will clarify the details later. This burly giant just wants him to understand. The cavalry has arrived. Len, seeing her, gathered his resolve and decided not to let their friend's sacrifice be in vain. Viscount Givens approaches, dripping with arrogance. You must be. Lazia cuts him off completely. Watch your tongue. She immediately demonstrated her title, reminding this clown, I am a viscountess, not some ordinary thief. Givens bursts out laughing. He finds it incredibly funny. And suddenly he blurts out the coldest phrase imaginable. Don't be mistaken, it is your father who is the criminal. Oh, that probably hurt. Givens notices that she is clearly exhausted, but pretends everything is fine. He is sure he has completely figured her out. To him, she is just a tired little girl. He asks with a self-satisfied smile whether she can maintain her assertive role. It is then that Lizia pulls out her trump card, a magical device from the elven killer he hired. Bang, there is evidence, but the data only mock. Lizia presses on, claiming that they were attacked by the same elf he hired. The Viscount slowly and theatrically begins to clean his glasses, completely unmoved. Are you seriously going to say you have Evans just because of some magical gadget, right? He says, essentially calling her a fool. Cornered, Lizia releases the final accusation, and Knights of Ura attacked us in the nearest forest. Evans plays the fool in front of my knights. And then she does it, points directly at that handsome knight from before. I remember his face, it was that knight who swung a sword at me and Len. Knight is dripping with sweat. He stammered and squeezed out a pathetic excuse, saying he was commanding outside the forest by the Viscount's order. Givens, noticing his chance, easily concludes that poor Miss Saint was probably deceived by someone else. He openly gaslights her in front of everyone. Lija is eager to achieve a real investigation in her city, but Givens throws a smile that could curdle milk. It won't be needed. One of Lija's knights couldn't hold back and tries to object. But Givens silences him with a single move, pure, indisputable authority. That's at the end. He won. The loyal knight can only grit his teeth in despair, but just when hope is almost dying, a quiet voice cuts through the silence. It's Len, he whispers, show it, show your hands. Givens is completely confused. Who are you talking to? Our guy lifts his head and in his eyes is not a hero but a predator. With icy calm he says, obviously you are the knight. Viscount's smug smile instantly vanished. Instead, pure, genuine shock froze on his face. The game just changed. Alright, we rush back into chaos. Our guy is dragged away, but Santis won't allow it. She calls into the night, I am Len. Her voice trembles but is full of confidence. The suspicious Viscount and his hand knight are unimpressed, but she doesn't give up. Show me the back of your hand. She insists there must be scars. They're scars that she and the real Len made together. The imposter's eyes opened wide. His soul seemed to tear out of his body. The gray-haired, scarred Captain Knight, who clearly has a working brain, addressed the boy, please show it. Blondie suddenly panics, stammers and shouts no to the Viscount. That guy tries to brush it off, says he was at work, but the old knight is not fooled. He repeats his demand, and his voice suddenly drops an octave. And then he switches to full intimidation mode and roars, quick lie, because my hand reaches for the sword. This giant is not joking at all. The imposter sweats profusely, his composure completely shattered. The crowd murmured. It felt like an epic drama was about to unfold. With trembling hands, he slowly removes the glove. Metal clatters and falls to the ground, and everyone stares. His hand is wounded. The old knight examines it. It seems you had some not very good potions. He notes that these are clearly sword wounds, but they show characteristic white burns of sacred healing. And as he explains, no matter how good the potion is, wounds from holy magic always leave a mark, at least for some time. Failed, completely and irreversibly failed. Viscount boils with rage. His entire plan goes up in smoke. But this shadow politician, a pro at weaving lies, starts to laugh ominously and suggests creating a new commission to prove the knight's innocence, a classic tactic to buy time. But instantly, without hesitation, he snapped back. He announces that the first hearing is already over, and by law the decision to transfer Baron Cluzel is final. The crowd is confused and our main hero can only mutter, huh. The Santizes and the old knight are simply stunned by this blatant abuse of power. The Viscount only smiled smugly. The entertainment is over, and he turned to leave. Hope fades on the saint's face as she watches them begin to walk away. She reaches out her hand, but in vain. The procession moves on, taking our hero away forever. Tears well up in her eyes, and she thinks helplessly, what can she do now? And then a sharp clap rang out across the square. Everyone froze and turned around to see who dared to interrupt. Next to them stands an impeccably dressed, respectable gentleman with luxurious mustaches, slowly applauding. He steps forward, his boots clicking on the cobblestones. Wonderful, worthy, and noble courage, the kind that deserves praise. This guy approaches as if he owns the place and adds, I couldn't have seen a more beautiful story. Santi stood confused. Who are you? Man bows slightly. I am Edgar. He turns to her with an encouraging smile. Malty Saint, trust this to me. Edgar clearly says he did not come to spoil their moment, but to help bring the story to an end. Then he addressed the Viscount. Viscount, pleased to meet you. I have arrived in Colossal by the master's order. The Viscount, irritated by this interruption, insistently asks, so won't you first tell the name of your master? Edgar simply gives him the most trolling, self-satisfied smile you have ever seen. Instead of an answer, he raises an ornate dagger. Sorry for that. As soon as the Viscount and his accomplices saw this, their jaws dropped. And on the hilt, a huge, unmistakable coat of arms is clearly visible. Oh, it seems you understood even without naming the name, says Edgar, savoring the moment. The Viscount, now pale as a ghost, stammered, don't talk nonsense, you must be plotting something. He tries to intimidate Edgar, sternly warning that conspiracy against a noble coat of arms is punishable by death. But Edgar only boasts even more of his power. So, representatives of the imperial court, I have been given freedom to act at my own discretion in this trial on behalf of my master. The lackey was left speechless. Edgar dropped a bombshell. I propose to conduct a retrial regarding the Colossal. He then admits that his master is deeply indebted to a boy named Len Ashton. We'll see it through to the very end. We see a glimpse of this mysterious master, a shadowy figure of incredible power who ordered his subordinate to assist. The Viscount and his boy completely lose their heads until the very end. The Viscount cannot comprehend this. Why does His Excellency suddenly make a move because of this? He knows well that he has just gotten into a fight with a giant of the Empire. Edgar smiles calmly and explains, thanks to the miracle that you also caused, my master can now come to help without any worries. Oh, one more thing, Lord Len Ashton, moreover, saved someone's life. And to put the final epic period, Edgar addresses the false hero. Oh, by the way, you said earlier that you were outsmarted. Everything was written on the Viscount's face. He just realized he didn't just step on a mine, he danced across an entire minefield. That's what it means to be a strong man. Alright, let's dive right in. Our guy Len is slowly coming to his senses. His brain is still loading. The last thing he remembers well, a bunch of screams and a giant wolf. Now he opens his eyes and just a few steps away sees a girl peacefully sleeping. He hasn't yet realized that he woke up in a 5-star hotel when he already sits up completely confused. Suddenly the girl woke up from sleep. And without a word she sharply flew straight into his arms, clinging tightly as if her life depended on it. Our hero simply froze, trying to understand if it was still a dream, while Elijah held on to him firmly. Finally he dares to ask what is happening and she drops a bomb. Dude, you overslept for more than a month. And at that moment some new guy comes in and says to our hero, take it easy. This is Albert, and he starts pouring out the biggest information dump of all time. It turns out that while Len was sleeping the most dramatic sleep in the world, Albert and Licia were busy clearing his name. Thanks to them the case was reviewed, and our boy was completely acquitted. So what about that suspicious Viscount who framed him? Oh, the same one. He conveniently ended his own life, secretly poisoning himself just before they could reach him. The guy's lens is narrow. Suicide, huh? Is that what we call it? Especially, you know, when someone decided to turn his entire mansion into a huge bonfire and burn everything to ashes. Yeah, nothing suspicious at all. Albert explains that the real star at the trial was a great nobleman who saved them. And who turned out to be that mysterious benefactor, none other than Chief Wolven. It turns out that the internal organs of that colossal machine are completely destroyed and are essentially the rarest ingredients for potions in the entire world. It is almost impossible to do without them. You get torn to pieces. but since Len brought back a perfectly intact monster corpse, Albert made a deal with a powerful marquis who desperately needed this material. And imagine this, the medicine worked. It saved Marcus's daughter, who had been ill for years. As a sign of gratitude, the marquis sent a personal invitation. Len just glanced at the exquisite envelope and something short-circuited in his head. He had seen this emblem before. His soul seemed to be tearing out of his body. This is the coat of arms of Marquis Dinya. Now the finale of the whole story. Here he is, the one who was supposed to become a legendary hero, but fell and planned to destroy an entire empire. And what was the trigger for his path as a villain? The tragic death of his beloved daughter. That is the very daughter whom our hopeless hero just accidentally saved, and the gears grind in his head as he realizes the catastrophic consequences. He didn't just bend the plot, he tore it in half. In a few weeks, Len is already gradually recovering. Even his parents visited. Upon hearing that he was safe, they rushed to him. The estate may have become a pile of ashes, but they managed to save a few things, and most importantly, everyone is alive. This is a truly touching reunion. Dad teases him, joking about how much he has grown. The guy just pretends that he doesn't care, trying to look cool. Later, he again turns over the fight in his head. The magical bracelet that turned into a sword, why did it react when it touched Lisha? He and Lisha are sitting relaxed on the balcony, and he catches himself just looking at her. She unhesitatingly calls him out on it, and he just brushes it off and pretends nothing happened. Smirking slyly, this guy decided to troll the Santos family and casually asked, "I wonder, do you have some kind of magical stone inside your body?" Lisha simply loses her head. Her reaction is priceless. She stammers and asks how he could have found out about that. Our main hero immediately backtracks and says he was just joking. The damage is already done. She knows that he knows. Lisha insists that he promised to keep it a secret, explaining that only the highest members of the temple know that the saints carry magical stones. This new news once again threw Len's mind into a frantic run. The magical sword, the legend of the 7 heroes. This sword is really that powerful. Maybe it really can change something. He begins to see a way forward that is not just about survival. Meanwhile, Lisha is experiencing her crisis of life's meaning. She tried to avoid Len, thinking that his grim future was decided once and for all, but having defeated Chief Wolven, he not only saved himself, he also changed the fate of ATR. Her father and Yurko, whom everyone thought were dead, are suddenly alive. Now the fate of the family of the last boss has changed. She understands that every choice he makes sends ripples through this world, and how they will resonate she cannot predict. He gently touches his face and he seems to wake from his thoughts. "What am I surprised about?" he thought to himself. Elijah leaned forward and sincerely said, "Ren is my hero and no one else's." She even brazenly adds, "You are a cunning person," saying sweet words after she thoroughly beat me on our first day. Her guy is completely stunned, his face flushed with 50 shades of red. Far from this still young love. Suddenly we are transported to a bustling city, right in the office of the director of the Imperial Military Academy. Inside, a woman is reading a newspaper that buzzes with headlines about the miracle of the saint and a huge beam of light stretching across the entire continent. Here is Director Klonoa Highland, and she is terribly bored. Sighing, she sincerely wished that someone somewhere in this world would finally dispel her boredom. She does not even suspect that her wish is about to come true, and it will happen in the most chaotic way. Alright, diving back into this chaos. The Empire's capital is in complete disarray after a series of, let's say, incidents. A mad royal guard decided that the third one must disappear, and one of the nobles died under very suspicious circumstances. People, of course, collectively lose their minds. Some shout that this is an invasion, others cry out that this is the wrath of God. But no, the truth turned out to be much more personal and far more complicated. Behind this insane revenge stood none other than the head of the noble family, Marquis Zignat. So what drove this guy to a one-man massacre? A classic villain origin story, friends. His daughter was on the brink of death. She needed extremely rare medicine made from the organs of a wolfen. He begged the emperor for help, but the imperial family coldly replied, "Sorry, these are our emergency organs, we can't help," and because of this Marcus's daughter died. And so the emperor's entirely logical decision gave birth to a monster fed only by pure resentment. And here is the emperor himself. He is trying to enjoy a pleasant cup of tea in the garden. His valet asks what he thinks about Len Ashton. The butler praises our guy, says that Len has a value that cannot be bought with any gold, and the emperor does not object. Swallowing, the emperor says that this is a good story. He even admits that after all this, his irritation has somewhat subsided. His valet begins to say something. It is clear that he is upset, but But the Emperor suddenly interrupts him. He himself knows perfectly well why he refused the Marquis the ingredients, to protect his own family. He lays everything out logically but clearly makes it understood. Understanding and accepting are two completely different things. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Father." The young woman rushes into the garden. Another follows her. She calls out, "Edgar. You have returned," she exclaims. The butler extends his hand to her, but she waves it away. "No, I must become stronger myself." He gently reproaches her, saying, "Madam, please do not speak so familiarly with us simple people." He almost misread the situation, dude. The dark-haired girl immediately exclaimed that she wants to visit Len Ashton and thank him personally. Edgar agreed but said that Baron Closel asked them to wait. Ignoring the no, she persistently asks, "What about the letter?" But Edgar is unyielding. He tells her to be patient and respect the Baron's wishes for now. He reluctantly agrees, looking quite upset. But don't count her out yet. She looks at the sky and solemnly swears, "Someday I will definitely meet you and thank you." Just know her feelings will somehow reach our main hero. Alright, let's dive right in. Our guy Len is not sleeping in his room but is mesmerized by a new shiny toy, the blue pearl of Suratia. And this is not just some beautiful stone, it is an egg so incredibly strong that no sword can scratch it, and now it is absorbing its magic like a smoothie. According to his gamer memories, a monster with ice and darkness powers was supposed to hatch from it, one that could challenge the Demon King himself, but no one in the game figured out how to hatch it, so it remained just an extraordinarily expensive paperweight. Before this guy could make a plan, suddenly there was a knock at the door. And who appeared but the white saint herself, Lycia Clausel. He immediately notices the glowing orb of death. Our guy pretends to be calm and says that some wolf chieftain probably lost it. Well, of course. Lycia, surprisingly clever, notes that since a wildly powerful monster sleeps inside and the egg cannot be broken, it is probably safe with him. Sensing a chance, Len says he feels better and thinks of hitting the road, and Lai immediately asks how long he will stay here. Our hopeless hero blurts out a number, asking if 1,000 meetings would be enough. Without blinking, Lycia's eyes light up. "Let it be at least 1,000 times, she says, effectively signing him up for a 3-year subscription to their friendship. He calculated and realized that's almost 3 years of daily meetings, and her father had already offered him a room, so there was nowhere to run. Lycia blushes confusedly, trying to brush it off. Before pulling out the last weapon, puppy eyes, she flinched to stay a little longer. And at that very moment, our guy folds up like a cheap suit. This is how the daily routine of our completely unsuspecting hero begins, who lives life to the fullest. He trains with Lisha. He goes shopping for chic new clothes all on daddy's money, enjoying the time and simply reveling in the luxurious life. The good times are interrupted. News arrives that Imperial Knights are in town. The chief butler, Weiss, with a sparkle in his eyes, explained that a famous knight had come to test Lisha's skill in the holy sword technique and invited Len to watch. It seems this technique is a lifesaver for everyone unlucky enough not to be born with natural combat talent. You just infuse a bit of magical power bam and instantly gain combat skills. It's essentially a cheat code for the less talented. Len, however, knows well that his gamer brain won't be able to just copy and paste such moves. Weiss admits that it didn't suit him either. But he offers to teach Len the Imperial fighting style. By the way, in the game, Lisha was a master of the Holy Sword technique, the Holy Sword, just one rank below the legendary King of Swords. In the whole world, there are only 5 Sword Kings, a title for those who have mastered everything. And here Weiss recalls the only style that gives our guy traumatic flashbacks forward, Kenji. In the game, there was a ruthless, exclusive enemy technique, a move that players simply could not master. The users were already out of themselves and fighting them would permanently weaken your stats. Only Memories and his soul wants to break free from the body. They approach the training ground and there are Lycia and some new handsome knight. Lycia notices Len and happily calls him to join the fun. Len tries hard to politely refuse, but the new one, the commander, has already heard about Len's promising talent, so now the pressure is officially on him. Before our hero could object, the commander challenges him to a light sparring match. He tosses Len's sword. And so the fight begins. Blades clash in a blurred whirl of movement. This true giant actually withstands the blow against the commander. He parried strikes and dodged like a true master. But the commander stepped forward and sharply shouted, "Stop imitating the style of the Holy Sword, fight for real." Message received. Len assumes a new stance, and then simply overwhelms us with a chaotic barrage of attacks that fills the entire panel. Commander is completely stunned, forced to go on the defense. He was thrown backward, left everyone speechless. Lance holds his position perfectly balanced. The commander cannot believe it. He tried to break Len's defense and was completely defeated. After Len properly introduced himself, Commander delivers his verdict: the technique of the holy sword is not for him. Lycia is confused and shouts that Len is obviously incredibly strong. Commander agrees but notes, the problem is whether it fits. He explains that Len's fighting style is too fierce, too aggressive, and his natural instincts will interfere with mastering the proper techniques. He says directly, it would have been better if Len had not learned this at all. And then, to show who is in charge here, he brazenly offers to teach Len the basics, pure contempt. Later, Wise confronts the commander, and he finally reveals the truth: he recognized Len's handwriting. This is a different, much more dangerous swordsmanship style, and he tried to steer Len away from it. In the room, Lycia is clearly upset. When she is grumbling, she starts fiddling with her hair, and Len immediately catches her doing it. She is furious. The commander's words sounded as if Len had no talent at all. Her main hero simply tells her, don't worry. Then Lycia admits that the commander told her. Ashtet has a similar bad habit in his fighting style. She studied Len's movements so persistently, trying to defeat him, that she began to copy them. For her, he said, this can still be fixed. But she feels as if the whole purpose of her life has been crossed out, and she refuses to accept it. Len gently tries to calm her, saying that they will find another style that suits her better. He says with full confidence that one day she will master this technique. He asked what she would feel if someone told her to abandon everything her father taught her. He says that in this they are alike. This hits right in the heart of Lycia. She says that her father wanted her to be free, to find her own path, and to become someone her late mother could be proud of. Correcting her ingrained habits is difficult, and it seems like a waste of time. And at that moment, Len experiences an epiphany. He realizes that Lycia is no longer just a game character, but a real person with her own dreams and difficulties. So this guy makes a new promise. He promises to find her a swordsmanship school that will suit her perfectly. Because this is no longer just about finishing the game. As he says, this is our future, you understand. Alright, diving into chaos, before us appears a mysterious emblem hinting at a lost chapter of history, a story unfolding under the watchful eye of a shadowy network. The action unfolds under a huge full moon, which casts an eerie glow on the luxurious mansion. But inside, Fiona gathers her strength, takes unsteady steps, trying to walk on her own. Finally, her legs gave out. She almost fell face first to the ground, but the maid caught her in panic. Even after falling, she does not give up, apologizes, and pushes herself to keep going, admitting that she is falling behind her peers and must work harder. This is a completely different Fiona, the one who was stuck in bed for too long. She begged the maid to let her try once more and promised she would stop before hurting herself. And what is her motivation? She dreams of one day standing on her own feet and thanking the person who made it possible. She remembers endless days filled with pain, that living nightmare that seemed never to end. Her inspiration is, of course, our guy Len, that unbreakable giant who freed her. Meanwhile, her father watches everything from the window above like a proud, slightly eerie gargoyle. He comes down to meet them, praising his daughter for a brilliant job. Fiona is simply happy that she can walk at all and feels a bit shy from the praise. But Dad came not empty-handed. He got a letter and told her that it was from the Imperial Military Academy. Her face clouded over. Here it was, the results of the trial exam she took last month. Her soul seemed to leave her body as she nervously scanned the page. When she passed it, the relief was immediate and immense. However, her father decides to tease. He turns to the maid and asks, "You thought she would pass, right?" The maid, loyal to the end, confirms. Fiona studied like crazy even when her health was simply terrible. Dad just smiles and says, "That's how it is. And this is only the selection. I'm only interested in the final exam." Through cruelty, Fiona is completely bewildered. Jez. He grabs her by the hand and tells her to try a little harder, because all the words of thanks to Len Ashton are worth nothing if she gets injured. He can only blush and mutter in response. Speaking of our main hero, the action shifts to the sprawling capital. Baron Clauso leisurely chats with Len, asking what he wants to do next. He offers Lena the position of night watchman in his house, a rather pleasant job. The Baron suspects what this boy has in mind and tells him, "Just say what you have there." Len finally confesses his greatest fear, that the mad Viscount might come after him again, and he absolutely does not want to return to the village, which could become a target because of him. Baron nods grimly. It turns out he has already heard about the Viscount's unusual obsession with Lena. In fact, Fiona Roy's father had already come to him with the same anxiety. He feared that some aristocrat could easily target Lena. Baron's advice: just hide in the secluded mansion until the village reconstruction is complete. No need to rush. Our hopeless hero is a bit depressed. He believes it is unrealistic for the son of a commoner to solve everything on his own. But But the Baron immediately stops everything. "It is not impossible," he says, pointing. "You just need to become the kind of person even nobles won't dare to mess with." He lays out the power scale. To be above an influential aristocrat, you basically need to marry into the imperial family. To become even more legendary, the Sword King. Lena's eyes widen in shock. He knows that name. Baron explains that there are 5 such true monsters in the world, the strongest swordsmen who have ever existed. These guys are so powerful that they operate outside the laws of any country. They are walking disasters, true final bosses, whom even heroes at the maximum level need an absurd amount of luck to defeat. So far, the Baron promises to cover all of Lance's living expenses. But our guy is too proud to take handouts, so he stubbornly looks for a job. He asks if there is any work similar to what he did before. "You know, just a bit of light monster taming." Baron confirms exactly what he meant. "You will have to watch over the local monsters, call them when needed, and write reports. And he can also take on extra orders at the Adventure Guild." So our guy heads to the guild. He pushes open the door and enters a noisy, rowdy tavern full of gray-haired, hardened warriors and suspicious elves. The whole room fell silent when everyone turned and stared at the fresh meat that had just entered. Unafraid, this real machine approaches the counter directly and asks to register. She first looked skeptical and did start, but when he flawlessly filled out the papers and had already pulled out the money for registration, she froze in surprise. "Is this really your first time?" she asked, completely baffled by his skill. He receives a completely new G-rank card, but it is of the lowest grade. With a confident smile, he tells her that he already knows all the rules because, he read the book. What an idea. Then he calmly approached the task board to see what local jobs were here. Here mostly trash of E and F rank. Real, strong monsters in these parts are extremely rare. Then he notices this is a D-level quest. Suddenly 2 figures approach him from behind. Does this bother the hero? Don't know. Here is the swordsman with cat ears and his companion, whom we saw earlier. They enthusiastically praise him for the brilliant defeat of that foolish Viscount. Then they issue a warning: "You probably should stop doing this." The werewolf says that a rank D monster, a gargoyle that eats steel, is much stronger than it seems, and its counterattack is no joke. Look, usually they are calm, but those special carnivores are a completely different trouble. Len weighs the options. These materials are insanely valuable, maybe enough even for a new magic sword. He sets off deep into the forest to begin exhausting work. Quickly glancing at the status, he saw his skill of summoning a magic sword jump to level 3. Advantages: now he can simultaneously summon magic swords. Taifubuyo, this will be epic. He notices his first victim. Suddenly a rank F rabbit with a mad look bursts out of the bushes. Without wasting a second, our hero summons his iron magic sword and rushes into attack. And his wooden magic sword for support. The wooden sword released a stream of vines that instantly entangled the rabbit. Perfect combo. Forest echoes with the squeaks of many, many victims. Another status window appears, and there it shows that his wooden magic sword is already at the maximum level. This guy quickly snacks on a sandwich and already, like a true gamer, is thinking over the strategy for leveling up. Later, Len slowly returns to the city. He drags a ridiculously huge ball of monsters, almost entirely wrapped in vines. The 2 adventurers who warned him simply lost their speech. This is incredible. Guild receptionist froze, jaw dropped. "Can I buy it? Everything." He shows his haul, including 2 A-rank rainworms. Payout is simply insane, a huge pile of gold coins. Just now our guy earned 600,000 G in one day, about 60 times more than the hourly wage of an ordinary person. And what does he do first with the newly acquired wealth? He rushes straight to the elite atelier. Even the owner recognizes him from that visit with Licia. A month later, Lesia is in hysterics upon seeing Len packing his things. "You are moving. Where are you moving to?" He calms her down, explaining that he is not leaving, he is just moving to the old mansion on the estate. Now he has officially become a member of the Ashton family and their servant, entrusted with taking care of the old building. Lesia muttered confusedly that she had heard nothing about this at all. Just then, a maid runs in with a package for Len from that fashionable store. He takes the box and shows a luxurious snow-white dress. Lesia's mind completely freezes. He pulls the dress out of the box. He stammers, "For me, F." "Yes," says our hopeless hero with a gentle smile. "I bought it on the day I earned money for the first time." He is simply stunned. He reaches out his hand to touch the delicate fabric. How cute. And then this guy with a stone face says, "If you don't take it, I'll take someone else." "Bro, are you trying to kill her with kindness?" She's tearing up. She clutches the dress near her heart as if her life depends on it. She whispers, "I won't give it away." He just smiles, not noticing the emotional damage he just caused, and wonders if she liked it. Lesia blushes and in tears is completely confused. How unfair this is, she says. Did you really think you could forgive me just with a gift? She tries to explain that everything is happening so fast that her heart hasn't had time to prepare for such cuteness. It's just too much for her, she can't handle it. Alright, let's go. The show begins. Our guy lies unconscious and looks at the stars. But this is not a peaceful sleep at all. He's stuck in a nightmare, reliving a scene from some ancient legend. In the dream, everything revolved around Chronohaland, recognized as the most powerful wizard in the world, which tragically died, supposedly killed by none other than Len Ashton. Or Len Ashton, and this is not just a random lore mention. In a dream, as if hinting, it was explained that Chrono was the rector of the Imperial Military Academy, a true combat force, no worse than the legendary Sword Kings. So how could some guy named Len defeat her? A complete mystery. Our guy Jolts woke up completely in panic. Calling it a terrible dream is an understatement, friend. Realizing that he is the main character of a potential tragedy, he makes a brilliant decision to avoid the Imperial capital and its creepy academy at all costs. After a few sips of coffee to chase away the feeling of inevitable doom, this true giant sets off to the city. All the locals are beaming with smiles and call him Mr. Hero. He is clearly the town's favorite. He heads to the Adventurers Guild, a classic place where quests and chaos always go hand in hand. Our heroes are just trying to find a simple task on the order board, and his stomach betrays him with a loud rumble. Suddenly a voice cut through the tavern noise. What a lovely sound. It is a shadowy figure in a hood who was clearly eavesdropping. Without hesitation, they invite him to breakfast on their tab. I don't know about you, but a mysterious stranger offering free food, that's just the city of red flags. Guy tries to politely say that he has cash on him. That man points out the lack of seats. Either share a table or awkwardly stand around, and he agrees, noting that she doesn't look local. They are at a generous, hearty meal, and our guy tries to start a light social conversation, complimenting her for being a regular here. She just giggles and says that his voice sounds grown up, and he immediately feels something strange. Her voice seems magically altered. She admits that she approached him impulsively, mainly because his stomach sounded so pitiful. And then she flips the script and asks, "What do you think of me?" Her next question, "I think about how to kidnap you." What audacity! The soul of our hopeless hero flew out of his body for a moment. He laughs nervously, but she just joked, probably. And then she throws a real proposal: come with her to the Imperial capital. The one place he swore never to go. He shut it down so quickly that she probably got whiplash. No, it won't happen. He says that she must go, and sincerely wants them to meet again. But as she leaves, she delivers the final blow. "Next time I will teach you about that strange power that is within you." Completely confused, he immediately rushed after her. His thoughts were swirling. How did she find out about his secret ability to summon a demonic sword? He instantly glanced at the crowded street, and she vanished like a ninja. He had not yet recovered from this crazy incident when familiar faces appeared, a pair of experienced adventurers inviting him to hunt in the eastern forest to watch over the newcomers. This is not an official escort mission, just a friendly offer. This guy already works for the local baron, so he will have to pass. They say goodbye, not even suspecting the chaotic breakfast interview he just experienced. When he is left alone, he cannot tear his thoughts away from the mysterious woman. But work is work. He returns to his adventure, which consists of fighting a huge, toothy land shark monster. He quickly deals with it, slicing the monster cleanly in half with one blow. The monster is neatly packed, and he is already counting the cash he will receive. He plans to spend this money to buy his family nice magical devices. What a decent man! Even in the midst of this madness, he thinks about his family. The quiet moment was shattered by a distant roar. The whole earth trembled and began to crack, like cheap decor on a film set. This is bad, very, very bad. And we return to the same senior adventurers, and they are not having fun at all. They are fighting a winged armored demon, which easily repels their attacks. Newcomers are already lying down completely exhausted. This thing is on a completely different level. It hit one guy so hard that his shield almost shattered into pieces. It immediately attacks another with its claws, throwing him into the air. They are simply wiped off the face of the earth. Simply, everything looks hopeless, and then our hero bursts onto the scene. He recognized that roared is a gargoyle that devours steel. A monster that absolutely should not be so close to the city. Seeing his friends being brutally beaten, this giant does not hesitate. He tells them to grab the rookies and run, while he holds back the enemy to buy time. The adventure gratefully retreats. Our guy suddenly accelerated and in a moment closed the distance. Head-on collided with the gargoyle's head. The sword barely scratches its ridiculously tough skin. Time for plan B. He summons demonic vines from the blade that wrap around the beast and squeeze it with crushing force. The monster screams in pain. giving him the opportunity to deliver a clean strike. He notes that although this is a rank D monster compared to others he has fought, it is quite light. He continues to press the attack, blurring motion and steel. Just at that moment, Gargoyle on ropes. Shadow falls on him. The Sakani gargoyle swiftly swoops down from the sky and dives at him. Our hero was caught off guard, completely stunned. And the retreating travelers can only watch in horror. Now before him are not one, but two of these crazy metal beasts. The real battle has just begun, and our guy is now up to his ears in big trouble. Alright, let's get to work. Our guy looks at one, but there are two more giant armored gargoyles and it's getting hot. He was told there would be only one, but it seems the universe is having a 11 sale on monsters today. This unsuspecting main hero found himself in serious trouble, dodging and twisting between two mad beasts eager to make him their chew toy. He barely jumped aside from a claw that could have easily ripped out his guts. Realizing that running away was not an option because these mad creatures would immediately attack peaceful people, our hero decides it's time to act seriously. Without blinking, he unleashed a stream of vines that completely entangled one of the gargoyles. For now, one has fallen. The other, clearly not thrilled that his comrade was turned into a chew toy, wildly swings. But our main hero is too agile. He leaps into the air, muttering a short sorry, and already lowers his blade. And I'm serious, is this really all the way to the very bottom? With one epic slash, he cuts the gargoyle in half. The monster's armor shattered into pieces like cheap glass. It emits a final piercing screech before it is officially removed from the server, but oops, the force of the blow also destroys his sword, which explodes into a shower of light. Just when you think he's disarmed, a brand new, shiny demonic sword materializes in his hand, level 1, fresh out of the box. Another gargoyle, finally breaking free from the vine-entwined prison, is now terribly enraged. It lets out a fierce roar, and rushes forward like a freight train. The crash, it lowered its huge claw downwards. But our guy doesn't even flinch. He simply raises his new toy, and around him instantly grows a huge spherical barrier that effortlessly repels the attack. This is not just any sword. Here is the demonic sword of shields. The monster is completely bewildered, helplessly watching as the magical bubble completely stops its attack. Our hero casts a stone-cold gaze at it, and then releases a wave of power so insane that it forever carves a chasm into this damn landscape. The other group members, watching from a safe distance, just remain silent, their jaws dropped. Wolfish Dude can barely comprehend what just happened. And when the dust finally settled, before us was a picture of complete devastation. Here stands our guy, carefully holding a sword among the remains of two high-level monsters. Group leader says, "Sir Hero, you are..." "Yeah, dude, he did it." Everyone is just huffing and breathing heavily in disbelief. Finally, the city guards appear, as always fashionably late, and they are shocked. Look, these are gargoyles that devour steel, and there are TPWO here. One of them turns to our hero and asks if he defeated them all by himself. Our hero, as always modest, tries to explain that he didn't fight the first one alone, but then the wolf brother intervenes and basically tells him to shut up and take the credit. He has already contacted the guild and confirmed that Len will receive that huge reward. Since we're talking about rewards, our guy mentally checks his stats. From the gargoyles, he received not just a pile of experience points, but his brand new demonic sword of shields also raised its level. He clenches his fist and feels his progress. "I wonder if I have become a little stronger," he thinks. "You just carved out a new valley. I think you're doing pretty well." Suddenly, a familiar voice called him by name. It's Licia, and she, in horror, points directly at him and asks, "Where did you get these wounds?" Our hopeless hero completely froze suddenly. Then she rushes to him, checks, and with relief sees that the cuts are not that deep. He just stands there silently and confused. He thought she would be angry because of the fight, but she only smiled warmly and said that he did an incredible thing and should be proud of his courage. He saved so many people. He tries to brush it off, saying he fought voluntarily, but she admits that she was still worried. He couldn't get angry. He was just insanely worried about him. The guy's heart just did a somersault. He invites him to dinner at the main residence to thank him. He asks if there is anything he can do to apologize for making her worry. He tells him not to stress, but then suddenly makes a real proposal. "Soon I want to visit a few villages. Will you come with me?" Without hesitating for a second, our hero just smiled and said, "Understood." Alright, let's dive back into the very heart of chaos. The scene opens at a luxurious estate where serious political games are underway, and a knight brings a report from the field. But the real action happens inside there. Our beloved puppeteer Weiss learns all the details. The forecast: the winter will be incredibly cold. But Weiss is not worried about the weather at all. He has much bigger and uglier problems in his head, so he calmly asks about the whole story with the gargoyle that eats steel. Commander reports, according to the Adventurers Guild, those beasts were practically skin and bones going mad from hunger. The old man finally puts the puzzle together in his head. Prices for certain minerals, the main food of gargoyles, have recently fallen. Someone is deliberately disrupting the entire monster ecosystem. Weiss only sighs. He definitely knows who is pulling the strings, but proving it is a completely different matter, and his tactical disappointment seems to be felt in the air. Meanwhile, in a completely different conversation, we take a little peek into the life of our hero Len. It turned out that he was terribly bad with the technique of the Holy Sword, but... Stop, wait, don't leave yet. The theory is this absolute machine might have a talent for something called strong sword technique, and that sounds way cooler. A few days later, our unsuspecting hero sets out on an expedition with Lisha, bypassing the local villages. Everything was going great until the horse decided to give him a huge, slobbery kiss right on the face. The knight chuckled, noticing that the horse had finally accepted Len as its master. But Lisha insists that the horse was incredibly affectionate from the very beginning, and Len, as always a good soul, says that he just had a hard life before and that's when the knight drops the bomb. This is not just a horse, it's a foal with monster blood in its veins, and it will become much bigger. Lisha is on cloud 9 because she realized that their new favorite with Len will be with them for a very, very long time. She leans closer and tells him that it's better to choose a good name for their future battle steed. No pressure. And that's when the maid takes our guy aside, happy that he will stay in the city. And then she sets him up for the toughest social challenge. The party for Lisa's birthday is just around the corner. You see how the gears start turning in his head when he realizes that the next month is already coming. Without hesitating for a moment, this guy is already coming up with the perfect gift. Now that's a real champ. The team drives into the village, and the locals greet them warmly and sincerely. Len immediately gets involved, dragging the boxes as if it's just another Tuesday. Later that night, Lisha shows on the map where they are heading next. Len suddenly realizes that they are standing right next to the infamous Baldur Mountains. He mumbles that everything will be fine as long as some suspicious marquis doesn't cause trouble. Bro, you just jinxed it. And an epic stream of legends begins. It turns out that Marquis Ignart once used these very mountains to try to destroy 7 heroes. He's not by his own choice a demonic stone, from the legendary red dragon named Asphal. This ancient monster was like a god-level lizard and also understood human language. And always looked for a good fight. The power of the Demon King drove him insane, so the heroes had no choice but to overthrow him. His body melted and turned into a volcano, which eventually cooled down in the Baldur Mountains, the very same ones we see today. Deep inside, one still remained the demonic stone of Asphal. And of course, the eternally treacherous Marquis Ignart seized it and, using its residual power, created an army of super-powerful monsters. We see a glimpse of his pure, unrestrained rage. He screams that the world has wronged him, the full villainous monologue of Sana 1. Returning to the present, Iroh cannot shake a bad feeling as he looks at those cursed peaks. As soon as they arrive at the next village, a local approaches them. He has a problem. He says that upstream the river is blocked by fallen trees, and because of this, their water supply has been cut off. Villagers tried their best to move them, but the logs turned out to be too heavy. Before the knights can volunteer, our hopeless hero steps forward. You want me to handle this? He casually explains that the knights are already up to their ears in matters, so he will deal with this little issue himself. The peasant is completely bewildered. Does this child really want to move huge trees on his own? Commander smirks, pats Len on the back, and says, "Don't worry, this is his Len Ashton. He's not like the others." Suddenly, something clicked throughout the whole village. This is not just some guy, he is the very hero from the rumors, and when everyone started to fan out, our hero blushed sweetly, which greatly pleased Lies. Alright, let's DAC in. Our guy Ren and Lady Lisha finally get a moment of peace, just resting and admiring the sky together. Gentle, calm scene, the last moment before the inevitable chaos. After a few days, a huge convoy again set off towards the capital. Expedition is officially completed. And that means time to prepare for the biggest event of the season, Lady Leisha's birthday party. Workers unload piles of boxes and supplies. Everyone pitches in, and when I say everyone, I mean our main guy does the work of 10 while others struggle with boxes. Absolute unit indifferently lifts a barrel the size of a small car. Maids just froze with their jaws dropped while he lifts it as if there are styrofoam balls inside. What a funny show-off. Suddenly, Lisha herself runs to the scene and frantically rummages through the supplies. Finally, she finds the small case she was looking for. But her victory doesn't last long. She turns around and sees Ren looking straight at her. Her soul instantly flew out of her body. She stammeringly mutters some crazy excuse about supposedly needing to take care of something and then just tears away, not suspicious at all. This brief encounter suddenly brought a terrible realization to our hopeless hero. He completely forgot to buy her a birthday present. In panic, he starts wandering the city streets, desperately trying to come up with a plan. He considers a ring but immediately rejects it. Too strong, too soon. Great move, did you felt the vibe? Suddenly he sees a white hawk soaring overhead, and a light bulb instantly goes off in his head. He will get her a platinum feather, an extremely rare material that shines like pure silver and comes from a white hawk monster. There is only one small hitch: you can't just walk into a shop and buy something so legendary. While he was nervous, a familiar voice sounded. It's Weiss, the hero with cat ears, asking what had him so upset. Ren tells about his epic, last-minute search for the perfect gift, and they sit down to think through the plan. Weiss confirms that it is quite crazy to look for it at the last minute. He explains that the platinum feather is magical. As soon as you defeat the white hawk, the magic will disappear and the feather will simply turn into an ordinary, boring feather. The only real way to get them is to pick them up when they naturally fall off, and it takes birds several years to regrow them. That is really a low drop chance. Weiss suggests opening a trading company, but there is less than a month until the birthday. It won't work. This guy does not give up. He decides to go look for the hawks himself. Impressed by his determination, Weiss decides to act like a true bro and drops a powerful information bomb. He knows exactly where the flock flies. Faces of our guys lit up. The mission got the green light. Later that same day, Ren heads back to the mansion. He finds Lyja on the grand front stairs, completely exhausted. When he asks what is wrong, she is all embarrassed, looks away, and blames excessive use of sacred magic, the most refined way to say none of your business. He quickly dodges his questions, leaving Ren completely puzzled. Next day, it is time for the hunt. Ren sets off deep into the forest, guided by Weiss's map. He finds the perfect place for an ambush, bites a climbing thorn into a huge tree, and climbs it to make himself a comfortable perch. To complete his super stealth outfit, he douses himself with a perfume that hides scents. This guy is no joke. He still remembers Weiss's last words: the falcon's favorite food is red berries on a certain tree. An ordinary adventurer would have to wait for days hoping at least one feather would fall, but our guy chose an easier way. He simply takes over their consciousness while their magic is stable and makes them shed feathers. Perfectly normal crazy ability, you know. Why exhaust yourself when you can just break the system? As if on command, the sky fills with a huge flock of white hawks. They descend with a powerful screech, a living storm of white wings. Ren watches from his hideout, eyes fixed on the prey. The birds have settled on the berry tree just as the prophecy predicted. Even if there are hundreds of them, finding naturally fallen feathers is almost impossible. Ren feels there can be no mistakes. He patiently watches as the birds begin to feast on the berries. If this doesn't work, he will have to give her a truly beautiful stone. The hawks notice absolutely nothing. They are simply enjoying their meal. Ren's eyes narrow, focusing his absurd power. He scans the flock with his gaze, choosing his targets. He waits for the perfect moment. And suddenly he lunges. One of the hawks freezes mid-bite, its eyes becoming completely empty. A second later, a rain of perfect, shining platinum feathers falls from the sky. The mission is accomplished without any effort. This man is a real threat. In a few weeks, the night of the big party arrives, and our hero looks incredibly stylish in a custom-tailored suit. The life of the upper world is clearly not for him, but he still manages and looks top-notch. He steps into the dazzling ballroom. Our Lord Weiss greets him with praise, saying that he has the dignity of a ruined hero. Suddenly, the huge doors at the top of the stairs burst open. Silence covers the whole room. Ren turns around, and curiosity can be read in his gaze. One elegant high-heeled shoe steps into the frame. Here is Lisha, accompanied by her father, the Duke himself. Everyone is silent as she descends the stairs. Camera rises and oh god. The crowd can only applaud. Her hair, her dress, everything is just perfect. She is not just a lady, she is a true saint making her grand entrance. She approaches Ren directly, asking with hope in her eyes, "How do I look?" Our guy, completely enchanted, simply says, "It suits you perfectly," and you know what, he is absolutely right. Alright, let's dive straight into this insanely cool party. The mood is high, champagne is flowing like a river, and everyone is celebrating the birthday of the most holy one, Lycia. This is a true high-class event. Toasts are ringing out, and a wonderful atmosphere prevails around. Our guy Len is chatting with the head butler, trying to come up with a plan on how to best distribute the gifts. He thinks he should go first to get it over with faster, you know, but the butler just looks at him with that funny, confident smile and says no. Though it turns out our main guy goes last even after all the servants. That's outright disrespect. Len is quite understandably embarrassed. The old man laughed maliciously, saying he never thought he'd see our guy as such an ordinary, embarrassed young man. Meanwhile, our hero's stomach was doing somersaults. First, the knights present their gift. They got Licia a full set of top training gear from the capital, and honestly, it's just an insanely cool gift. She's simply delighted. Finally, it's the turn of our unsuspecting hero, and the tension is palpable in the air. But wait, surprise, Licia's father intervenes and gives his gift first. First, she of course is simply all smiles. The butler barely apologized for the confusion, but our guy sees right through it. This old man is trolling him completely. Beaten, this guy simply accepts his fate. He has to go last, but he decides that it no longer matters. He pulled himself together. A new expression of determination appeared on his face. He approaches and sincerely wishes Licia a happy birthday. He hands her a small, inconspicuous box. Licia clutches the gift to her chest. It is the most precious thing in the world. Her face has completely flushed. She says she will be happy with anything as long as it is from him. Our guy pretends to be calm, but tells her that she probably should see this first. He carefully opens the box and soft light pours out of it. The entire ballroom seems to hold its breath. Her eyes open wide. Inside lay one incredibly beautiful feather. A platinum pin. The crowd simply explodes. People are going crazy. Butler and Licia's father froze in shock. This thing is so rare that you could search the whole world and still not find a single one. Tears roll down Licia's face, but these are tears of pure joy. She whispers that if this continues, she will simply die of happiness. Without batting an eye, our guy leaned closer and said, "I really don't want you to die, so maybe I should have taken something else." The smoothest phrase in history. She simply hugs the gift and refuses to return it forever. After the main event, the party went all out. Music played loudly, and the tables were laden with an absurd feast. Of course, everyone wants to know how this guy managed to get the legendary item. He just shrugs and says that he was lucky in the forest, but a brief memory reveals the truth. He skillfully dodges and knocks down a huge griffin-like beast, taking his prey. Happiness? No way, this machine is simply made differently. Suddenly, Licia sneaks up from behind and pokes him in the back. She whispers, asking if he can give her some time after the party. Our guy is a bit confused, but what can he do? Who is he to refuse? Later that night, they stood alone on the balcony, overlooking the city. Licia holds a platinum feather in her hair, and it looks incredible. She tells him that spending his birthday like this feels like a dream. Then she suddenly turns everything around and hands him a gift. Our heroine is puzzled. It's her birthday. What's going on? She says she chose it because it suited him best. He recognizes the box but can't remember where it's from. He just insists that he open it. He puts the case on the table and unfastens the clasp. Inside lies a short sword, carved with stunning craftsmanship. Gears started turning in his head. He remembered the sword she lent him and which he lost during a fight. This is a replacement. But then everything gets even crazier. He realizes that the sword is not ordinary metal, but a magical instrument pulsating with power. Licia, blushing, admits that she poured all her magic into it. Day by day, she filled it with holy magic, hoping that it would someday come in handy for him. So everything clicked into place for our main hero. That's why she looked exhausted and tired so many times. He clenched the sword in his hand and felt incredible power pulsing in the blade itself. He tells her that he is truly happy and sincerely grateful. But he must ask, why does she give him a gift every birthday? Her face instantly flushed with a blush. She stammers and says that she also wanted to celebrate his birthday, but his is in spring, and waiting another year to give him something, she simply could not. This is the most confusing and sweetest confession in the world. Our hopeless heroine cannot hold back laughter, and it only makes her even more embarrassed. He smiles and says that it seems both of them did everything they could today. Looking at the stars, he says words that turn everything upside down. "Who would have thought we are so alike? Please continue to take care of me." The effect works instantly. Licia begins to cry. This guy is now completely lost, and in the future. Why are you crying? Tears of joy ran down her cheeks, and she reminds him that he always talked about returning home. Saying in the future, he simply made her understand that he plans to stay. Even before he manages to ask what she is talking about, she puts a finger to her lips, and through tears a bright, happy smile breaks through. She takes his word for it, and she is simply overwhelmed with happiness. Well then, let's set off immediately. Several months have passed since Licia's birthday. Jump to the gigantic city of Ubeheim. A mysterious figure in a white cloak approached the overly pompous gates of Marquis Ignart's mansion. Just an ordinary Tuesday walk. The doorman, poor guy, approaches and does his job and says, "Excuse me, madam, do you have an appointment?" The mysterious guest barely whispered a short sorry, and then demonstrates the most devastating flex in the world. Simultaneously incredibly casual, slowly removes the hood and throws back the hair. Guard's soul instantly leaves his body, his brain seems to have shown a blue screen, and he, stammering, utters a desperate apology. She herself is calmness, instantly puts on an absurdly large wizard's hat and says, "It's all okay, dude, I'm just trying to be incognito here." He approaches the main entrance with a brisk gait. The butler opens the door, looking as if he just saw a ghost. Who is waiting inside? None other than Marquis Ulyss Ignard himself. And it turns out that the hooded guest is the director of the Imperial Military Academy herself, Lady Krona. Oh, and one more little detail, she is also the most resilient sorceress in the world, Chrono Highland. But it's nothing, the Marquis pretends everything is under control, warmly welcoming her, even though she appeared without any warning. After ordering some tea and sweets, the Marquis wastes no time, straight to business. "I heard you were away on business, what brought you here?" Krona just slyly smiles at him. "Oh, you knew, that's a secret." The Marquis is clearly not in the mood for games and insists on a truthful answer. And Chrono drops a bomb. "I actually want to hear Len's story." Bam, the friendly atmosphere evaporates, Marquis' face hardens. He responds by hitting her with a dead serious, "May I ask why?" He wants to know exactly why she is digging for information about Lena Ashton. Chrono admits that he owes a lot to both the Ashton family and the Colossal family, but the Marquis is no fool. He says that when his own daughter Fiona was sick, the Colossals helped because Chrono directed them right there. He says it plainly and simply, "I can't calmly give you information about him without knowing why you need it. Trust is currently at an absolute zero." Now the tension is just insane. Realizing she has hit a dead end, she instantly changes her tone, flashing a bright, disarming smile. Sorry, I'll explain everything properly, so don't be so wary." Marquis calls his butler Edgar, report what happened here. It seems Edgar couldn't properly describe the condition Fiona was in, because our real giant Len became a living shield, all wounded, to protect her from harm. Just then Fiona Ignard herself entered and looked like 1,000 times better. She beams with a smile, thanks Chrono, and says she feels stronger every day. She is simply delighted she got promoted, and she is talking to everyone again. Chrono decides that it is time for a real medical examination. In Fiona's room, Chrono her magic. Verdict is known, Fiona is fine, she no longer needs medicine. There is only one critical rule, Evie is never allowed to remove the necklace that Chrono gave her. Then Chrono suddenly notices a brand new academy uniform on the mannequin. Fiona admits she has already fixed it, trying to prepare in advance. Chrono encourages her, winking and saying that she will be simply incredible at this. Fiona's confidence wavered, she admits that she cannot truly imagine herself as a student. It was late, she had been sick for a long time and sat in her room. The thought of having to navigate the capital and make friends scared her completely. Chrono looks at her warmly and reassuringly. "Everything will be fine with him. I know, you are a good girl, Fiona." He is in front of the mirror. "Imagine," she says, "you are in uniform. Eating together, laughing with friends, enjoying life. From now on, you don't have to be afraid of anything." And Fiona gazes enchanted at her reflection. Suddenly something crazy happens. Strong, bright vision overwhelms her. She is in uniform. She was walking through the noisy city, holding hands with a boy. This is a glimpse of a happy future. We walk side by side with our boy Len. Vision ended and Fiona's face blazed red like a supernova. And she begins to wave her hands desperately. "Oh, it's nothing, please, not about me." Inside, she completely breaks down from thoughts. "I feel so awkward imagining myself with someone I've never even met. Oh dear, if only you knew." Later that night, the time came Chrono had to set off. While they walk, she casually drops another detail. She scouted the Balder Mountains. They wanted to hold an exam there, but this idea was quickly buried. It seems those cliffs are too cool, and it gets too cold there, practically a deadly trap for students. Marquis asks distrustfully why she is telling him state secrets. Before he could get a direct answer, they reached the gates. Chrono announced that she is leaving the country and will not return for a whole year. Her goal is the Holy Land. It turns out the Silver Street Palace is currently under renovation, and because the place is packed with holy relics and powerful seals, each nation sends its best, of course. She was also put on the list. In her absence, the school will be run by a suspicious board of directors, and Marquis basically says, "Sounds like a headache, have fun." Suddenly, Chrono realizes she is late. "Wait, I really have to go right now." She shouts over her shoulder one last time, "Please tell Fiona that I will be rooting for her at the final exam." Marquis sincerely wishes her all the best. She disappears into the darkness of the night. And what is she flying on? Oh, just a wildly epic magical airship soaring against the backdrop of the full moon. So the greatest wizard in the world is out of the game for a whole year. Well then, let's dive in. Our guy Ryoma starts the morning with a special package. A woman from the guild approaches and tells him that he has been nominated for a rather specific request. Mission to escort some Sirkai, and our guy is quite embarrassed because, well, it's Sirkai. He hasn't even had time to process this when the hero himself appears along with his beastman partner Mattias. He immediately teases Ryoma about his height, because obviously that's how it will be, even before Mattias officially introduces them. Everyone sits down to learn all the details of this ridiculous mission. It turns out the order came from a government trading company, the favorite of some noble from the hero's faction, the task to cover their courier. And here the hero drops the first bomb. The whole trip there and back will take a whole month. You can clearly see how the enthusiasm of our hopeless hero slowly leaves his body. The hero suddenly pulls out a map and shows the proposed route, which goes straight through the treacherous Baldur Mountains. He explains that the roads are easy at first, but the mountains are a real hell of monsters, so the team needs a real bruiser like Ryoma. He even hints that there might be a hidden map inside, luring him with promises of treasure and glory. But Ryoma's brain is actually working. He knows that those mountains are home to valuable gargoyles that eat steel. But he also knows it is deep winter outside and that place will soon be buried in snow. The hero just slightly shrugged and said that those merchants are too persistent. He made us agree, explaining that if these traders miss their supply window, their business will be shut down for years. Playing on guilt is real, people. In the final offer, the hero promises double the usual pay and a generous bonus if you bring them home safe. He leans in with a suspicious smile and asks if Ryoma is still hesitating. The guy thought for a second, and then he gives the most polite go-away in history, saying he has another job and cannot leave for a month. The hero dramatically flops face down on the table in defeat, but instantly jumps up with a grin and admits that this is exactly what he expected. Turns out Mattias is not going either. He has his own matters. The hero will just have to find some other poor soul in the guild. He offers to buy Ryoma a beer for all the hard work he has done. And our hero remains polite and instead asks for juice. Meanwhile, at the other end of the country, in the imperial capital, everything starts to go crazy. Before us stands a huge, high-tech magical airship docked and ready for takeoff. The entire class of young cadets boards. They are all here to take the final exam of the special class of the Imperial Military Academy. Among them is a familiar face, nervous but determined. On the bridge, the crew anxiously runs through the last pre-flight checks. Yes, the flight plan is handed over to the commander. His eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. "Are you sure this is correct?" he asks, completely puzzled. His subordinate confirms that it is real. The director and even the masters of magical instruments signed off on this crazy plan. Only here can they truly test the candidates, especially in winter. The commander carefully reads the fine print. The location was kept in the strictest secrecy so that nobles and commoners would compete on equal terms. With a grim expression of acceptance, he gives the final order. Ship's rotors roar to life, and the colossal ship majestically takes off into the snowy sky. Ship soars through the clouds. Finally turned out, its final stop is the Baldur Mountains. Yes, exactly that, the same crazy death trap snare buried in snowdrifts, which the boy just wisely refused, is now the place of the final exam for a group of teenagers. I'm confused. Alright, diving back into chaos. Winter has hit, and our Elijah looks at the snow with a face that simply screams, "I have a bad feeling about this." And you know what? Maybe it's true. A short flashback shows our guy Len, who is tirelessly working, diligently training with a sword, bending his back every day, and even receiving praise from the old guard for his effort. This guy is not just sitting idle. He earns his living by shoveling snow off the roof of this whole damn estate and helping around the household. But that's not all. There's also a tender sigh when he and Ligia carefully sort through papers, like the sweetest, cool couple in the world. The calm is shattered. The maid bursts in with a pile of scrolls that look too official. She says that although the villages have enough supplies, this absurd amount of snow is causing serious damage to the property. Klosel, the one in charge, confirms the bad news. The snow is so heavy that it has blocked roads and is literally crushing old houses. The villagers are crying out for help. Without blinking, our hero asks if Klosel is sending knights immediately. Before Klosel can finish his thought, Len is already getting up. "Oh, broken houses. I was constantly repairing my father's house. Take me, coach." This real giant just wants to help, whether it's fighting monsters on an epic expedition or just patching a roof for a few villagers. Klosel only sighs, clearly impressed, and tells him, "Go ahead, do it." Seems everything is under control now. But as soon as the sun begins to set, everything suddenly goes awry. From the Baldur Mountains, an alarming smoke signal flared up. The hero Len's senses sharpened when he asked the obvious question, does this mean people are in trouble? I swear by your sweet magical sword, absolutely. Colossal explains that there is an old fortress above which adventurers use as a refuge, and this signal means someone's life is in danger. Then he takes out a suspicious-looking letter and admits that he wasn't even sure if he should show it to Len at all. They are asking for a nomination again, this time for Lizard Made Us. And the one who got into trouble is that confident captain adventurer with a smirk whom we met earlier. Yes, Lizard and his team, those are the ones who really got caught. And Len immediately understood everything. That fortress is very old, and if they run out of supplies to keep warm, they will simply turn into human popsicles. Fossil resorts to the classic "I told you so," directly saying that he warned them not to go. Then our guy drops a bombshell. Lizard is his acquaintance. And it gets even sharper. Lizard supposedly told him that the entire journey is financed by a merchant who has connections with the hero's faction. Clausel's face fell. Those guys again. Then Clausel got nervous and started apologizing. He thought it was some petty revenge of the hero for their last meeting. But there is no time. He has already decided to send knights to help the villages, so they can also catch the fortress. This is a well-thought-out move. Not only to save the adventurers, but also so that the Clausel family name never again ends up in some new crazy political drama. But our hopeless hero is not going to sit idly. He looks Clausel straight in the eyes and says, "I'm going too. Lizard is now my problem." Clausel almost slapped his face with his palm and sighed. He knew this would happen, but hates depending on Len again. Len just shrugged and said he wants to protect this place and the people in it. Behind him is the whole team of friends, and he is ready to move out. Defeated, Clausel agrees. "Fine, I'm counting on you." But wait, there is a catch. There is always a catch. Clausel sharply orders, "You can set out with the knights to the fortress, but you are forbidden to accept this official request." His logic is unshakable. If Len goes as an adventurer, by law he will be obliged to protect Lizard's team during the crossing of the treacherous mountain, pass a mission that in this weather almost condemns to death. Our guy understood everything and sincerely thanks him for watching over him. Instantly the rescue team gathers and sets off. Len says goodbye to his friends who stay behind. Suddenly Lesia rushes through the snow, calling his name. She tells him to stretch out his hand, and from the tip of her finger bursts a dazzling light. She creates an extraordinarily powerful sacred magic, wrapping his hand in pure, radiant energy. Our hero feels the power flowing through him. Lesia explains that this is just a temporary buff to protect him, a small way she can help. Len is clearly moved and tells her that her support is all he needs to give his all. Lesia admits that she wanted to go with him, but her father categorically forbade it. Unaware of anything, the main hero simply smiles and promises to do her part of the work for her. Then he proudly twirls in his hand the decorated dagger she gave him, calls it his talisman, and assures that there is nothing to worry about. They exchange a quiet, meaningful glance. And Lesia becomes serious, "But if so, promise me one thing." She looks into his very soul and says, "You never, and I mean seriously, never push yourself too hard, okay?" The last sincere plea, she lets him go on his way. "Take care of yourself." Alright, let's get down to business. The mission is to deliver our guy and his team to the Baldur Mountains. And when I say team, I mean a real army column winding through the icy wasteland. This is not an ordinary road trip. This is a full-fledged expedition, more carriages than at a royal wedding. Ahead march truly experienced adventurers, among them a guy with wolf ears whose eyes seem to have seen everything. And among these gray, hardened veterans stands our hero, too calm for a guy who set out on a mission into enemy territory. This giant machine moves so confidently, as if it already knows the whole plot. The journey is an exhausting struggle. Days blend into nights and the team sets up camp, sharing stories and food by the crackling fire. Even the local wildlife, a few very puzzled three-eyed hares, poke out and look as if saying, "What is this noisy parade?" The expedition does not stop. It crosses frozen rivers and makes its way through endless snow. Finally, they pass through a small village covered in snow. Like good guys, they do not just pass by. Our guy and the adventurers grab shovels and help the villagers get out from under the debris, because that's what heroes do. Even the main hero from time to time has to take up manual labor. After a good deed, they set off on the road again. Another night, another campfire. Our hero dozes lightly, while the others stand guard. He even finds a moment to bond with his horse, a true gentleman. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, they arrive. The Baldur Mountains loom over them like a jagged crown of ice, full of despair. This dude looked at the epic landscape and it is immediately clear. In his head, it already sounds like "here it is, it begins." The moment they step into the mountains themselves, weather is simply raging. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an absurd blizzard arises, fiercely striking them with wind and snow. The storm is so wild that it literally knocks our guy off his feet. The adventurer with wolf ears shouted that the path was completely buried, even the trees are covered. One of the knights says that they can try to melt the snow with magic, but that's a one-way ticket. An avalanche will just sweep them away. Realizing that they were basically stuck for the night, the lead knight suggested setting up camp. Tough choice, they want to reach Fort ASAP, but breaking through this chaotic weather is pure suicide. Later, suddenly, a strange light flared in the distance. Our main hero notices a smoke signal. The others breathed a sigh of relief, taking it as a sign that the group in the fort was still alive. But this guy does not celebrate, he understands. That group was full of experienced adventurers, and if they are stuck and need rescue, then something seriously, catastrophically is wrong. The knights agreed, realizing that some unexpected disaster had probably befallen them. To chase away the cold, they turn on a magical heater, a glowing orb of pure coziness. The group discusses strategy. This true giant SIG delegates carrying the luggage to other adventurers and focuses on readiness for monster attacks. Of course, the elves immediately offered to take seats next to Mr. Hero, which greatly annoyed the senior adventurer. You can't accuse them of bad taste. Next stage of the journey is true hell. They pull the sleds up a steep, snowy slope, and every step is a battle with the mountain itself. At night, the camp is a small fire in the boundless icy darkness. Then comes the climbing scene. Well, of course, they have to overcome an icy wall, tie themselves with a rope, and pull up their supplies. It is a team effort. Everyone reaches out and helps each other to climb to the top. After that trial, our guy finally takes a well-deserved rest, sipping a hot drink and gazing at the terrifyingly beautiful landscape. No rest break is to be found. The trek continues through waist-deep snow, a slow, exhausting march. Everyone pushes to the limits of their strength, their breath in the air turning to frost. Every step is a struggle. And then they notice it, a giant shaky suspension bridge stretching over an abyss leading straight to inevitable death. It seems it was built from toothpicks and pure malice. One of the knights indifferently notes that a volcano sleeps beneath the canyon. Our hero, not flinching at all, thought to himself, I know I read this in a light novel, now that's real show-off. Having crossed the bridge from hell, they marched onward. Suddenly, the wolf-eared adventurer froze. Wait, he says, his face a mask of growing horror. The whole group freezes, sensing sudden tension. His voice barely whispers, full of terror, it's a monster. His eyes are wide open from pure panic. And in the distance, a terrible truth unfolds. Their destination is completely engulfed by an invasion of flying monsters. This is no longer a rescue, it's a march to certain death. Alright, diving back into chaos. The scene opens on a squad of adventurers clearly having a very bad day. They face a real tsunami of gorilla yetis and flying monsters. The local wolf boy sums up the situation with tactical genius. There are so many of them. No dude, their brilliant plan, run to the fortress. Unfortunately, that fortress was as strong as a wet paper bag and immediately exploded, throwing the defenders into the sky. When it seemed that all hope was lost, suddenly unexpected reinforcements appear. And this is not an ordinary rescue team, it's a bunch of kids who immediately start showing off crazy magic. They launch a volley of fireballs that simply destroys the front line of monsters. Meanwhile, the fortress spectacularly fails its only task again and again. Look, our hero is right here, calmly reading a spell that tears the very earth and stops the monster's advance on the spot. The first adventurers are completely amazed. These kids cast the highest level magic as if nothing happened, and they are definitely not in the guild registry. The squad commander, Sir Unicorn Shield, makes a smart choice. We'll figure it out later, now saving people. Battlefield is pure crazy chaos. Other kids next to our boy are also puzzled, wondering who these newcomers are. But the wolf boy immediately recognizes a good thing, so he tells everyone to just take the hits and keep going. Our guy is already up to his ears in the fight, stabbing the blade into the monster and at the same time experiencing a real existential crisis, thinking, why are literally children fighting for their lives now? He watches as those other kids move with flawless skill, without any magic, and his mind just explodes. This dude seriously starts to question his reality. But the horde of monsters ignores his inner monologue. They begin smashing the castle walls with giant hammers. One of the girls from our hero squad flies through the air, slicing flying lizards as if cutting vegetables. But then we meet ATR. This girl starts summoning a wildly large number of snowflake ice daggers surrounding her. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and unleashes the most hellish blizzard. Her icy blades simply tear through the ranks of monsters, turning the entire field into a beautiful, chaotic meat grinder. One real giant, a tigrity, roars, completely unimpressed. Big mistake, our hero immediately jumps on its back and delivers a critical hit. The ice girl arranges epic fire support, throwing several ice stars straight into the beast's face. Our guy looks at her with pure steel determination. She looks back, completely stunned by his swordsmanship, a moment of mutual respect in the middle of the battlefield. They instantly coordinate, stand back to back, and just smash everything that approaches. Invincible pair is born right before our eyes. Girl is shocked, stammering, "Why you?" And our main hero, calm as a cucumber, simply says, "I'm from the group that came to save everyone." And he immediately turns and wipes the monster he just talked about off the face of the earth. True disdain. Inspired by his bravado, the ice girl goes all out and unleashes an absurdly powerful mass attack. Her ice blades multiply and become a storm of sharp, piercing death, covering the entire area with an icy carpet and turning every single monster without exception into an ice sculpture. This guy is thrilled. He considers her magic incredible, and she thinks about him exactly the same way. His swordsmanship is simply incredible. They stand side by side, the new powerful duo of the district, ready for whatever comes next. Turns out nothing is left. The sun rose above the horizon, and the battle finally ended. The ground is strewn with frozen monster corpses and broken ice. Finally, the adventurers can catch their breath. Our hero immediately checks his new partner and asks, "Are you okay?" She admits it was her first time having to fight such a number of monsters at once. As soon as she realized they had won, all her strength instantly left her body. He extends his hand to her like a true gentleman. She blushes and is embarrassed but still accepts his help. He says don't worry and tries to appear calm. But then his gamer brain kicks and he notices her necklace and immediately recognizes it. It's an expulsion necklace, pure junk. Clearly something is wrong here. The leader of the wolves approached, relieved to see that the children were okay. He was informed that our guy is now their leader. And now he wants answers. Why are a bunch of teenagers camping in a deadly trap? Oh, how thick it is. But even before she has to answer, the girl skillfully turns the situation around, and before I can say anything, "You, people from the Clausel family, right?" Her unicorn shield confirms this is an official rescue team sent by the head himself. For her, this is a huge relief. Folages, because he was secretive, asks for his name. And then a sensation, she stands proudly. She removes the mask of her true self. "My name is Fiona." Oh, it gets even better. "I am Ulysses Ignart's Lord Ubigame's the only daughter." The microphone dropped. She is not some random person. She is real, truly from the royal family. And our completely unsuspecting main hero, his brain simply completely failed. The shock on his face when he realized he had just saved an important person, absolutely priceless. Alright, diving back into chaos, a brief glance into the past, where a young girl calls herself Fiona. She is the only daughter of some influential lord. Remember this name, people, you will need it later. Let's move to the present. Our guy stands in the middle of an icy desert. Face to face the same girl. Suddenly a new team appears, led by a guy with real cat-like energy. He called himself Mattis, the leader of a rescue squad that helps stranded travelers. They all huddled into some fort in the middle of nowhere. And Fiona explains that in her group only those who pass the exams, and they have been stuck here for several days. Mattis's jaw almost dropped to the floor. Suddenly it dawns on him, this deserted icy expanse is the site of the final exam of a special class of the Imperial Military Academy, and these are not ordinary recruits at all. Our main hero stands and watches, just trying to understand the complete mess he has gotten into, forcing us to admit that he half believed as if they were some lost aristocrats, and honestly, that's almost true. He was quite taken aback, realizing that he had been rude to the future elite of the country, while his friend behind him only snickered mockingly. When Mattis asks his team to introduce themselves, they just brush it off. No, better not, because dealing with nobles turns out to be an almost guaranteed disaster, even if they pay decently. They painfully learned, high society is a drama with extremely high stakes. The guy with the scales intervenes and plays the diplomat. He offers a simple deal. His team will escort the students down the mountain and guarantee their safety. In response, they simply ask, don't drag them into that political nonsense these kids are involved in. Fiona, seeing no better option, agrees to the terms and says, let's do it. And our guy, the eternal strategist, starts poking holes in the story. He makes us ask whether some damn exam could really have left them so unprepared for the blizzard. This made us convinced that these kids are the best of the best. They were supposed to be ready. Fiona looks silently and knows in her heart he is right. She explains that everything went awry more than a week ago. And that's not all. Monsters appear in incredible numbers and completely exhaust their strength. Travelers immediately became wary. It seems the monsters are deliberately hunting the tested ones. This real giant is silent, but you can see the gears turning in his head. His inner monologue switched on full. All this looks suspicious. There should be observers at the final exam, but there is no one. This should not be so impossible. Blizzard is so fierce that even experienced travelers get stuck. The scaly adventurer noticed the sharp look of our guy and, confirming his suspicions, said, "So, you notice something is wrong here." Turns out some of these students are nobles from other countries. If they are killed, it could cause an international incident. Though the adventurers behave rudely, because it's better to be rude than dead. Fiona drops another bomb. The adventurers they were looking for, yes, they are inside the fort. Rescuers' faces darkened. This is not good. Push the doors and open them. What looks like an improvised medical station. Every bed is a real adventure. I am completely exhausted. These guys are fighting for breath, pale as ghosts. He made us rush to his friend, shouting his name. Pull yourself together, but there is no answer. The students did not understand at all what had happened. A minute ago the travelers were perfectly fine, and the next moment completely helpless. A student with blonde hair steps forward and explains that he came here after seeing the smoke signal sent by the examiners. This boy, apparently the group's medic, says that the magical power in the adventurers' bodies has abnormally swollen. He diagnoses it as a blood vessel rupture, a terrible condition where incompatible magic devours you from the inside. Note, the very name chills our hero to the bone. The medic says this is usually a disease of children with huge, unstable magic. And the strangest thing is the symptoms are already subsiding. And unlike most cases, these guys will probably recover on their own if they rest a little. Feeling slightly less gloomy news, they decide to scout the surroundings and plan an escape. Fiona looks at the medic and silently thinks about relying again on the strength of the Clausel family. Tension eased a bit, and the two adventuresses decided now is the perfect moment to hit on our unsuspecting hero. Leaning in, they whispered, "We can just leave this to the men. So shall we go together to choose a room?" And our guy's reaction? Zero. He just cut them off with the coldest, most indifferent refusal imaginable. "Please don't do such weird things when we're in such a situation." The icy tone in his voice left them speechless. Ouch. The moment Fiona approaches him, a bit embarrassed. And our hopeless hero gives her a look like, "So what now?" She stammers, trying to explain that she didn't suggest a threesome, she was just watching. Yes, watching how they hit on him in the sewer. He simply agrees, and she breathes a sigh of relief. Their awkward little moment was suddenly interrupted. And some other student takes Fiona or Lady Ignart aside to talk privately. Fiona apologized and stepped away, leaving this guy standing alone again. Before she completely leaves, she glances back. "I just wanted to thank you for helping me earlier," she says with a radiant smile. Our guy is a bit confused. He thinks that because of her clothes she mistakes him for some random traveler, but he responds with a smile. At that moment he realizes he completely missed his chance. Properly introduce himself. Classic. Alright, let's start. The scene opens on an absurdly gloomy castle, completely covered in snow. Everything around screams, bad things are happening here. The fortress shudders from a blizzard attack. Inside, stuck applicants bustle and try to figure out what to do next, while some knights drag supplies as if going on medieval shopping. The main squad devours food, and of course, the conversation revolves around their current chaotic commentary. The veterans are too proud to accept help. They consider it against the rules. Someone that night accurately pointed out a clear miscalculation in this whole affair. Shouldn't the exam venue be, closed to outsiders so that such things don't happen? And then our guy Ren, who was quietly listening, dropped a truth bomb. It wasn't sealed, and the travelers were here even before the exam started. Gears started turning in his head, and he sensed a conspiracy from a mile away. One night, someone suddenly picked up the conversation and asked Ren if he thought a third party was involved here. Speculations begin. Could it be the royal family pulling the sinister strings here? No, the chief knight will quickly stop that. Messing with the powerful Marquis Ignat is a political nightmare no one wants. Then they added another spicy detail. The academy director conveniently left the city right before all this chaos erupted. Suspicious? Absolutely. The knights decide not to wait any longer. Those who can't fight will be forcibly sent down the mountain, especially if someone is seriously wounded. And our main hero asks how the wounded are treated. And they also say that Lady Ignart has some special healing gift. Ren got interested and saved this information for later. The knights are a bit surprised to see Ren spending time with Lady Ignart, the very girl he saved. He regrets that he never really got to properly introduce himself to the person who literally saved his life. He is still trying to figure her out and thinks that she resembles an adventurer. The knights reminded him of their pact not to interfere in each other's affairs, and probably that's even better, they decided. Our hopeless hero agrees, deciding for now to leave things as they are. Later, after a tiring passage through a dark corridor lit by torches, Ren sits in his room and for a moment catches peace. He pulled out the magical lantern that Likia gave him and thought, how the hell to turn it on. Imagine she left him instructions. He finds a small switch on top, clicks it and bam, instant light. But wait, that's not all. Holding the note under the new light, our unsuspecting main hero sees a hidden message appearing on it. It was written with some invisible ink. A message from Lisha so sweet it hurts the teeth. If you take too long to come home, I will come and get you myself, okay? Ren just smiles, his heart clearly melting. Accepted. Meanwhile, at the leisure estate, she gazes into the same snowy sky, studded with stars. In her head, there was clearly only our boy. The maid warns that she will catch a cold, but Lisha says that the cool air is very pleasing to her. The maid, sharp as a blade, asks if she is worried about Ren. Lisha admits she is, but not like everyone else. With absolute, unwavering faith in her eyes, she says, I am the one who knows best how truly strong Ren is. The microphone falls, and the maid just smiles. She understood everything. But inside Lisha, her icy calm completely disappears. On her bed, a dress is neatly spread out. She instantly blushes and embarrassedly assures that it means nothing. The maid remembers it is the dress given to her by Ren. She sees through Lisha's game. Her lady was simply lonely. Caught red-handed, Lycia clenches her dress in her palms, her cheeks burning. She begs the maid not to tell anyone. The maid smiled warmly and with understanding. Yes. On the icy mountain, the travelers descend together with the wounded. The plan is to split up. The boy in the bee costume will go with the knights to look for reinforcements. Meanwhile, the others stay behind to guard the rest of the tested. The main hero silently nods and walks away, watching as the small group struggled heavily through the endless whiteness. Suddenly, the ground exploded. And suddenly, a monster the size of a minivan burst out of the snow, ready to turn them all into pancakes. No one had even managed to scream when this true giant Ren dashed like lightning. With one clean slash and the giant falls with a dull roar, completely destroyed. They just stood there, their mouths agape. Incredible work, one of them stammered. With this we would have enough food for a month. Ren simply, without straining, solved his entire logistical problem in less than 5 seconds. That's a flex. After the long-awaited shower, Ren steps into the corridor, feeling a rush of freshness, and bumps into Lady Ignart. Classic awkward encounter in the corridor. She gasped and started apologizing endlessly. Well, our guy tells her it's all right. They both just stand there awkwardly stumbling over their words. Then she gathers all her courage and fires the question that has been eating her up. My savior in Clausel, you know, and I heard you are from there. I just wanted to ask if you met him. Her hero is simply puzzled, right? The irony is so sharp it hurts. She explains, the nights were too busy and she feels that her savior is about her age. She looks directly at the guy she's talking about, and Ren is completely silent, probably has a short circuit in his head. Realizing she is betraying their promise not to interfere, she is overwhelmed with panic and starts apologizing again and again. Her hero, as always a gentleman, says he doesn't mind. That moment is already lost. Fell completely dejected. She was so close, but again could not tell him the truth. It's not worth it. All right, let's dive in. A merciless snowy landscape opens up, a place you only get to if you lose a bet. But inside the fortress, someone sleeps peacefully, completely unaware of the blizzard trying to tear the world in half. Suddenly we plunge into a dream, a warm and sunny memory, completely different from the icy reality. On a beautiful day, a girl walks beside a boy. She notices how hot it is here, and our hero simply agrees lightly. He gives her a gentle smile, and that makes her just want to stop and enjoy the moment forever. So her eyes instantly opened wide. She sits down beside him, completely confused. Her brain was doing somersaults, trying to understand why she had just dreamed of the face of Mr. Traveler. Outside her window, snow quietly and relentlessly falls on the cold stone walls of the fort. We see a brief montage of their life, people drawing water from a deep well, sharing meals with other survivors, and caring for the sick. Life is harsh, but they somehow survive. At the embrasure, our guy Len stands guard alone. His shift has finally ended. He decided he wanted something warm to drink before going to bed, a perfectly reasonable plan in this icy desert. He goes down to the kitchen, pushes the door open, and he immediately froze. Right there in front of him stood the girl from his escort mission. The awkward tension in the room is so thick it could be cut with a knife. He calmly says, "Good evening," and she almost jumps out of her skin and, stammering, replies the same. Both immediately look away, blushing furiously. Her thoughts race. It's him, the boy from her dream. Our completely unsuspecting main character, not aware at all, simply asks, "Is something wrong?" She panics and pretends the least convincing. Nothing in the world says nothing, but her smile loudly screams, "I'm panicking." She explains that she was just brewing tea, and then this real giant, without hesitation, simply invited himself. I'd gladly join. Too skillful, dude, very skillful. So they bring the water to a boil, standing in such an awkward silence that it is louder than any conversation. He reaches for the top shelf to grab some tea leaves. He thought there were many more options than she expected. But as soon as she reaches for the jar, our guy at the same moment grabs the very same one. Her hands touch the oldest rom-com trick, and it works flawlessly. She looks at him, completely embarrassed, and her heart is probably dancing the Macarena. She sharply pulled her hand away and apologized hotly, and he remains calm, holding the jar and asking if she wants to try this one. Then he starts brewing tea with such concentration as if a sapper is diffusing a bomb. He perfectly strains the leaves, and they settle by the fire, savoring their night drink. Her eyes open wide. "This is tasty," she exclaims, truly shocked. She admits that she didn't think he would be so much better at it than her. She says that she used to be very fragile, and her maid taught her a few tricks. But honestly, she is still a bit clumsy. She continues, saying that making tea became part of her recovery, a way to make her body move again, but no matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't make it tasty. Her guy smiles and tells her that making tea is a complex art. And then he says it, the very thing that changes everything. The medicine she received works better if taken as tea. Some materials from monsters really have to be used quite differently when applied as medicine, he pondered. She nods and says it seems so. So, having done this tea, the bitterness becomes softer. They enjoyed a quiet, cozy moment by the campfire together. "It is so peaceful here, it is so sweet here." And then a record started to scratch in her head. She's just relaxing and enjoying this moment. The moment when his words finally struck her. Her eyes opened wide in complete shock. I never once told him that the medicine is made from parts of a monster, right? Suddenly she is hit by a flash of memory, the corpse of the very monster whose parts were used in her medicine. Before she could comprehend this stunning news, some thug flew in from nowhere and told Lady Ignart that it was already late and she should go to sleep. She stammers, says okay, her mind completely reels from this revelation. She walks away, lost in thought. I can't just write this off as a coincidence. Could that Mr. Traveler really be? Guard notices her anxiety. She returns and her expression becomes deadly serious. Can I ask you just one question? Alright, let's start right away. The world is covered in ice, and a fierce blizzard is wildly beating everything around. A lone group of warriors is making their way through the merciless snow, obviously on their last legs. Their goal is a gloomy fortress looming over the edge of the world. When everything seemed hopeless, the fortress gates opened, and suddenly a familiar face jumped out from there. This is a party, and they brought the cavalry. They announced that all the merchants have been patched up, so finally, it's time to get off this icy block. Our guy immediately scanned the crowd with his eyes looking for one specific person. Excuse me, he asks, but where is Mateys? The answer he gets is far from ideal. Foxman just shrugged and says that Mata simply disappeared, left a message and took off. Note supposedly said that Kai is not recovering properly, and that's the weakest reason in the world to abandon your apprentice. The rest of the crew is justly outraged, calling it an incredibly irresponsible act. Come on, seriously, he agrees to help, but at the first opportunity just disappears, suspicious with a capital letter. But not everyone is so unreliable. Two beastmen step forward and say that since our guy saved their children, they are with him until the very end. A little loyalty can work wonders, people. Here already the next morning. Our hero, suspecting nothing, is already on his feet, a lantern in hand, and ready to set off. Outside the fortress walls, the whole group gathered for a big riot. The lizard-like guy announced grimly, those taking the exam go lightly, leave heavy things or give them to an adult. While everyone is bustling and preparing, our hero feels a strange premonition. He whispered to the guy next to him that he felt a strange, barely warm breeze that passed by. Such a thing doesn't happen in a blizzard. The group sets off on the march. A long, winding column of people stretches against the backdrop of the White Sea. But as they walk, a feeling of horror slowly creeps in. They've been walking this path for some time now. Not a single examiner is visible anywhere. This is not just strange, it is a huge, alarming sign. And suddenly they see him, across an abyss so deep that the bottom is not visible, stretches a huge, shaky suspension bridge. This thing looks as if it was assembled from toothpicks and empty hopes, and it wildly sways in the wind. And the souls of all simultaneously tear out of their bodies. Lizard people, as always professionals, ask the children to hold on tight while they cross. But of course there is always someone, snorted the confident blonde K-Semini. No need. Who do you take us for? He tensed his muscles firmly and puffed out his chest. The suspension bridge cannot scare these famous and prestigious special class examinees. And he takes exactly one step onto the bridge, and instantly receives a one-way ticket into the abyss. While he was looking into the abyss, his whole life flashed before his eyes. The lizard simply approaches carefreely, points and says here, as if the bridge is not trying at all to devour this child into oblivion. The blonde, now pale as a ghost, admits that he does not know if he can do it. Friend, we know you will not manage. Seeing this complete chaos, the other adventurers decided to take the initiative into their own hands and lead the children through it. While most of the group reached the other side, our guy and Maria stayed behind. And his friend advises him to turn to the knight for help, but this guy has other plans. He turns to Maria and nervously asks if she, will cross with him. Such a cute blush appeared on her cheeks, and asks if he is really sure. She smiles and admits that she was going to ask him from the very beginning. Clever. So the two of them set off on a dangerous journey across the bridge. Our heroine notices that she is a little worried. She apologizes and admits that she was more scared than she expected. Then she looks at him and says that she is fine because he is there to protect her. She confesses she was so sick her whole life that every night she didn't know if she would see the morning. Compared to that constant fear, shaky bridge, that's just a trifle. Our main hero just smiles in that case, good. But when that warm moment ends, here it is that strange feeling has returned. That barely warm wind comes again, but this time it is stronger. Suddenly the bridge jerked sharply and shook. A gust of hot air burst from below. He wasn't imagining it, something is definitely happening. The air beneath them began to swirl, and in the very heart of the abyss, a dark, ominous vortex formed. Panic grabs our hero and pushes him back into reality. He grabs Maria and shouts the only two words that matter now. Run, something is approaching from below. Others on the other side look back, completely confused. And then it happens, a dazzling light bursts from the abyss, and behind it rises a massive column of swirling flame. The roar, a real fiery tornado, comes to life, enveloping the chasm with unholy flames. The scale of this is simply insane, threatening to burn the entire bridge to ashes. Everyone froze and just watched in pure, genuine shock. Get ready, because the final test has just turned from difficult to apocalypse level. Our heroes cross a shaky bridge over a huge chasm when suddenly boom. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an absurd wall of fire emerges, and a whirlwind of pure combustion barrels rushes straight at them. Other adventurers completely lose their heads, shouting that they need to run across the bridge. It's total chaos. One guy shouts, "What is happening?" and his friend shouts back in turn, "Gubba Richo cares, just run." Our guy and Lady Ignart found themselves right in the very whirlpool of this crazy crowd. And they hadn't even managed to recover from the flames when from the other side they were hit by a second icy tornado. Lady Ignart instantly springs into action, shouts "freeze," and raises her hand to cast a spell. An ice wall appears, but the vortex destroys it as if it were made of sugar glass. Shards of ice flew in all directions. He immediately rushed and covered her with his body. Now they are trapped, on one side a fire tornado, on the other an icy one, and both are rapidly approaching. And then the flames begin to coil around Lady Ignart like burning snakes, while the bridge itself is simply torn to pieces. This gigantic machine is completely confused. It does not understand what kind of fire this is. It moves purposefully. Almost it is alive. And suddenly everything fell into place. His soul seemed to tear from his body when he realized the terrible thing. They are aiming at her. And above all this, a shadowy figure silently watched. The bridge finally gives way. Lady Ignart loses her balance and falls into the blazing abyss. But our hopeless hero does not hesitate. He instantly rushes forward. He pushed off from the crumbling ledge and leapt with a jump any movie hero would envy. He is literally flying through the air straight at her. She raised her eyes. Her face became a mask of pure horror. This guy is just screaming, "Lady Ignart, give me your hand." 2 elemental whirlwinds will collide with them in a matter of seconds. That's it, the game is over. Psyche, our guy, activates his decisive move, demonic sword of shields. A net of pure energy at the last moment weaves into a perfect sphere around them. Then, pressing her to himself, he uttered the coldest phrase of the century, "I promise I will bring you home safely." Fire and ice strike their tiny shield with the force of a nuclear bomb. Lady Ignart even adds a bit of frost to be safe. The resulting explosion turned out to be catastrophic. The entire bridge evaporated, sending out a huge shockwave that echoed loudly in the mountains. The whole chasm suddenly disappeared in a blinding flash of light. Meanwhile, other adventurers are sharply thrown into the air. The blonde swordsman and his partner barely grabbed the hanging rope. He clings with all his might, as if his life depends on it. He shouts to her not to let go under any circumstances. The team on the cliff frantically tries to pull them up. But the bad news doesn't stop. The chasm has turned into a raging stream of death. The lizard turned around and shouted the one word no one wanted to hear: lava. The whole mountain decided to erupt. This is a real smorgasbord of natural disasters. The last remnants of the bridge helplessly hung in the smoke. And our heroes, we turn back and see them. They are peacefully hanging from a single liana, which surprisingly grew right out of the hilt of our boy's sword. He pressed her tightly against himself, and she blushes deeply. He just looks down, calm as a cucumber, and asks, "Are you okay?" All she can do is nod. She is simply a legend. Alright, diving back into chaos. The volcano has officially decided to repaint the entire mountain ridge in a wonderful shade of molten lava. Our heroes found temporary shelter in a snowy fortress, but safety today is out of the question. At the top of the tower, our main hero and Lady Ignart gaze into the apocalyptic landscape. She is terribly guilty and apologizes for dragging them into this mess. But our guy, calm professional as always, immediately puts an end to it. It's not her fault. They just got separated and now have to come up with a new plan. He reassures her the lava is moving predictably, so their old path should theoretically be more or less safe. But semi-safety is not an option. This huge, tough guy knows they can't just sit and wait for rescue, which might never come, especially when the Earth itself is trying to bake them. He pulls out a map and instantly becomes a strategist. He already has a new route planned. The nearest safe zone is on the lands of the former Viscount Givens, but the road there is longer and much more treacherous. This immediately raises a bunch of questions. Lady Ignart says that since Givens disappeared, his lands have been under the care of the royal family. The guy looks worried. The royal family, huh? She asks if all this horror could have been caused by insidious rivalry among the nobility. He doesn't brush it off, says it's a warning. So many strange things are happening that it can't be a coincidence. Lady Ignart insists everyone who took the exam are high-ranking nobles or members of the hero's faction. Going against them is an extremely audacious move. This sets the gears turning in our hero's heads. If it's not the nobles, then who? An external force. And then he stumbles upon the most classic villain motivation, a cult trying to resurrect the Demon King. Oh, these guys always get into trouble. But there is no time to invent conspiracy theories. The lava casts a truly ominous light, so they must move immediately. Lady Ignart agrees and turns back to grab her things. But suddenly she froze. The world around seemed to shatter into pieces as she clung tightly to the lantern. A wave of something overwhelmed her. The boy notices her pause and anxiously asks if everything is all right. She quickly pulls a smile onto her face and waves it off as if nothing happened. He is not entirely convinced, but they have many more problems, or rather volcanoes, to tame. And so begins the most hellish expedition. They descended snowy slopes and the angry volcano above them constantly smoked, reminding them of their trouble. The journey is harsh, an unrelenting march through icy cold. They quickly set up camp under the starry sky, a brief moment of calm amid chaos. They walk on the edge of a boiling icy abyss. Later, Lady Ignart sleeps deeply in the tent. While our guy keeps watch, his breath curls in the icy air. The next day awaits us with wildly risky, incredibly precarious rock climbing. Then a blizzard struck, threatening to completely bury them under snow. Finally, a new day dawns. Lady Ignart steps out of the tent. Looks a bit confused. Our hopeless hero has already lit the fire and put breakfast on the flame, always ready for adventure. He apologizes she overslept. Without stopping for a moment, this guy simply says dryly, "Messy hair." He hands her some food. She's still embarrassed, thanks him. He looks at her, notices a bold strand that jumped on her head, thought to mention it, but wisely decided it would only make things more awkward. That little ahaj is just enjoying itself. She, completely unsuspecting, eats, and he only sips his soup. Rebellious hair continues its little dance. He finishes first and stands up to gather his things. But when he packs up his gear, his eye catches a familiar little jump. A stray hair on his head is doing exactly the same. Dots finally connected in his head. I felt it too, and the quiet realization of our shared silliness struck him like a blow. Lady Ignart overheard him. Embarrassed, he whispered, "You had it too." She pulls out a mirror, and as if her soul leaves her body when she sees the chaos in her hair. Her guy just smiles slightly with a knowing smile. Later, by the campfire, she shyly apologizes for falling asleep during the watch. He felt unwell, so she offers to join him tonight. He tries to brush it off as if it's his job, but she insists. She hands him a cup of tea and explains that her old servants, having tasted it, always gave her bitter smiles. Oh, a red flag. And bam, a bitterness so deep destroyed his taste buds that it could probably kill a weaker man. This is, without a doubt, the worst thing he has ever tasted. And does this huge man spit it out? No, he looks her straight in the eyes with as expressionless a face as possible and says, "Delicious." She immediately calls his bluff, pointing out that his eyebrow twitches wildly. He is a hero, but a bad liar. Sitting there, he says how strong she was through it all. Even on the burning bridge, she had not a trace of fear. He only smiled slightly, a small, sad smile. And suddenly she drops a bomb, asks if he remembers that disease of broken vessels from the fortress. About that story where a person's body cannot withstand its own magic and slowly wastes away. Her eyes are filled with a painful memory. He was struck by a vascular fracture. His eyes are wide open, he is in shock. She explains that her case was so severe that doctors, herbalists, and even masters of magical instruments all declared, it is impossible to cure. Suddenly a click in the head, that necklace she always wears. She confirms this is an expulsion necklace, a rare artifact that suppresses magical power. She used it only to slightly ease the constant tension in her body. She tells him about her past life confined to bed, weak and fragile. She is fed by maids. She could not even sit up by herself. Her entire world was reduced to shelves of books and medicines, which she could use only on good days. Small tiny world. She says that if the one she was a year ago saw herself now how she climbs the mountain, she would think it was a dream. But one day everything changed. Her father and the servants suddenly became cold and distant. They didn't even look her in the eyes. She thought it was because the doctor told them she had very little time left. But the truth turned out to be completely different. The night before, they secretly gave her a new, experimental drug. Her father kept it a secret because he couldn't bear to see her heart break if it failed. And that medicine, it was made from the leader of the pack, the very one our boy hunted. While she was sick, all her servants, maids and butlers and her father desperately and silently prayed for a miracle. Lying in bed, she waited for the end. She stared at the ceiling, waiting for another day of pain. She woke up, and for the first time in an incredibly long time, her body did not hurt at all. She tried to get up, her legs buckled from lying down for so long, and immediately fell flat on the floor. She hit her head, a bump instantly appeared on her forehead. That's all, just an ordinary shove. That unbearable pain that tore her soul disappeared. She only crawled pitifully across the carpet. To look at the morning light pouring through the window. And for the first time, not from pain, but from pure, sincere joy, she cried tears of happiness.